Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition here of the PondCast. The PondCast episode 95, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, just VIP. With you, I'm joined by the amazing people in the chat, and of course, my crew handling the production behind the scenes. Welcome, one and all, to our weekly wrap-up show, where again, there's lots of StarCraft news and StarCraft adjacent news to get into, and of course, the big thing to discuss is the PTR. Of course, we did have an emergency PondCast a couple of days ago. It's been less than a week, by the way, since the PTR has been live, where we did discuss initial changes, and now we've had a couple of days to actually let the PTR sink in and for testing to be done. This is where I have to admit, of course, and give props to all the players and all the other content creators that have been devoting a lot of time, a lot of effort into the PTR. One of the downsides for us here on the CranKy Ducklings, for myself, is that we cast more StarCraft than anyone else out there. That is true, but because of that, I don't really get the time to go into the PTR, right? We're casting, Water TV Mondays, Pegasus Cups, we're casting Amanthus, Code for Jams Cups, GSL, RSL. We're casting all these tournaments, a lot of them still in the base live version of the game, so I don't really have as much time to delve into said PTR, but I can say, of course, that we have held 2 tournaments so far in the PTR, and there were some things that did become very apparent when it comes to some of the changes made in said PTR, and we'll be discussing some of the other things brought up by other community members as well. From my perspective, of course, I guess we'll jump into the first piece here, and that is from Lorimbo. So Lorimbo, he did make a massive write-up here. Lorimbo, for those who are unaware, he's an Italian Zerg player. He's known for cheese, known for aggression, known for being very in your face, and even coming up with his own builds at times and being hyper aggressive. And he put in a lot of games, over 100 hours at this point as well. From the time of making the post, which was a couple of days ago, it was 100 games. He's put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and when it comes to trying to dissect and trying to figure out how early game aggression can work with an 8-worker start instead of 12-worker start, and he has some findings here, mainly based off of ZVP, a little bit of ZVT as well, but the latter is of course full of mainly Protoss players, so it's mainly ZVP, and he's found a couple of different things. Obviously, the goal of having a low worker count was supposed to open up some variety, and it's supposed to open up some more dynamic play in the early to mid game. But at least from the Zerg side of things, Lorimbo has found that that is not actually the case, specifically due to the fact that Larva is a big kind of hindrance, or kind of like a gateway here that's kind of keeping Zerg back. Because of the lower drone count, it means they get later hatcheries. Because of the later hatchery, they have less larva to work with as well, and because of the limited larva limitations, it means that by the time they get across the map, whether it's going for an 8 pool, 10 pool, when it comes to 12 pool, when it comes to trying to get early pool timings, early gas timings, early roach horn timings, by the time you actually get this up and running and have any substantial army to make use of, the opposing Terran or Protoss player has plenty to defend, and you're typically playing from behind. It's very, very difficult to really actually find any damage, to the point where Lorimbo actually found that going for early game aggression in the PTR is actually worse than that in the live version of the game. Even if you try to go for the same build, for example, it just hits so much later that your opponent's tech is just so much faster as a comparison to that. Partially due to how the changes of the gateway, of course, but also partially just because of how the opposing race production cycle works. Their tech is gated behind depot into racks, then pylon into gateway, and that gets online a lot faster than normal. Meanwhile, the Zerg kind of tech or production gets up and running a lot later instead. So he has found this, that's at least when it comes to the Zerg side of things, the lower worker count actually has taken away a lot of build diversity and has taken away a lot of aggressive potential, and it's actually achieving the opposite of the intention of the patch itself. So these are some things that he has found, and of course other people have been jumping on this as well. And again, it's really well written out. Obviously he's very transparent when it comes to his where this is coming from and his perspective, of course, specifically speaking on the Zerg side of things as well. So we do appreciate the work that Lorimbo did put into this, the write-up as well, and has gotten a lot of attention from some of the other kind of bigger community figures as well going into it. Specifically, of course, that goes into Pig, but I guess we can kind of go through some of the other kind of thoughts that were brought up as well. We had Avex, he came in as well talking about some concerns. His concerns were a little bit different. He was concerned about too many changes happening at once, and that being a little bit chaotic and not having not having any kind of big direction when it comes to the patch itself. And that was also very apparent to us and has become more apparent with the PTR, that there are a lot of different changes and some of them are kind of working against each other. I think one of the big ones, of course, is due to the increase in resources in each of the bases that helps bolster and helps boost turtle heavy play, for example. Meanwhile, I mean, the initial worker change was supposed to increase build diversity and aggression, but there's the two things that are kind of working against each other, where you're incentivized on staying on a lower base count. At the same time, they're trying to promote more aggressive builds, and if they were successful in that, well, I mean, the opposing player can stay on a lower base count to begin with anyway. Not just that, but something that we find that became very apparent to us, I should say, is that because of the gateway change, we have seen a little more turtle heavy play from Protoss players, period, as well. What I mean by that is that because there's a limiting factor of resources that's gating Warp Gate as a tech choice and as an ability or as a way to warp in units, it means that players are stuck with vanilla gateways for a lot longer, which means they're less incentivized to be active, to be aggressive, and instead more incentivized to just stay at home and be defensive, at least until they build up to 3 bases, where they build up an economy, a large enough economy to be able to afford warp gates, and then start being active, and then start being aggressive. So it does feel like some of these changes maybe weren't fully thought out, and in general were kind of pushing players into a certain direction that wasn't maybe the intention of the patch and of the changes themselves. And that is something that has become a little bit more apparent when it comes to the warp gate changes, when it comes to the worker count changes, the economy changes as well. There are other changes that I would say are definitely more of a positive thing for sure when it comes to how they're adjusting some of the other units, but there are some of the bigger changes do have some flaws added to them, and I think there's a lot of expectations from the community that there are going to be changes made to this, or at least we're hoping that changes are going to be made, feedback is going to be received, and they're going to be altered coming into the next week of play. What I will say as well, as I was kind of getting into it earlier, talking about limitations that I have when it comes to getting into the PTR myself, is I do appreciate that just because of the PTR going live the way that it did, I will say that a byproduct of that is that everyone is discussing this, everyone is playing this, everyone is testing this as well. This also goes against what Zombigo was trying to say previously, how Zombigo was saying that, like, oh, no one plays on the PTR, there's going to be minimal testing and minimal feedback, and there's not going to be much changing here, and there was a little bit more doomer. Here we have the opposite occurring, where there's a lot of testing being done, there's a lot of eyes on the PTR currently, and a lot of people are, even though it's been less than a week, there's been a lot of kind of movement when it comes to the PTR and discussion around it as well, which has been really cool to see. For sure. Some of the other things were brought up. I know that Railgun, he had a little bit more of a meme video as well, talking about some of the other issues when it comes to certain matchups in regards to PvZ, the strength of the Zealots. I would say that ties in a little bit more with Warp Gate itself, just because your ability to reinforce and push across map with a gateway heavy composition in PvT and PvZ matchups is pretty insane, and I think there were some hopes that maybe that would be changing a little bit, but that's not necessarily the case with the current changes that were implemented. So Railgun, he's asking for some other changes when it comes to certain units like the Ghost, like the Zealot. We have seen like some crazy Ghost rushes. We saw that this morning. Beyond versus Solar. Beyond, he went for a crazy Ghost rush, and the snipes were insane, breaking through. The spoilers for this morning, by the way. I do recommend checking out the VODs. But again, we saw Beyond whipping out some Ghost rushes, and that looking pretty insane to work with as well. As there's less counterplay. Specifically, we actually saw late game. We saw a little bit of late game ZVT this morning between Beyond and Solar, where Beyond, once he got into a heavy Ghost count, the issue that we saw there, and this was an issue raised previously, is now there's less counterplay available. Previously, you'd have this dance between the Ghost and the Infestor, right? Where you're afraid of the Infestor, you're afraid of the Fungal, and you want to EMP it, and you want to try to avoid it, and you want to be very careful with how you engage with a Broodlord heavy army. This is for the late game specifically. But because because damage no longer interrupts the snipe, then the Ghosts, they can just ignore it. They just move in, Fungal lands, Fungal does nothing, the Zerg army tries to engage, and then bam, blah, mass snipes go off and all the Broodlords die. And it's like, so we saw that there were definitely ramifications when it came to late game TVZ. I would argue that maybe you could say that that obviously Broodlord Infestor would no longer be viable, and you'd have to try to adjust that army composition, maybe a little bit more towards the ZVP composition. In ZVP, it's Broodlord Infestor, Viper, Lurker, with Ling Bane support. It's a more complex army against like a Skytoss heavy composition, and you might have to fall into that, where you have your Broodlords, instead of relying on your Infestors to support them, you have to rely on Infestor, on Viper, and on Lurkers as well to support them instead, if these kind of changes move through. But again, there are other people that are proposing other changes to the Ghost and to the Infestor and to that kind of dynamic, I should say. We next had Showtime. Showtime, he also kind of expressed his opinion a little bit as well online, talking about how like he was, he doesn't have any strong opinions when it comes to the worker starts, but he's very mixed, if not confused, as to the warp gate changes. We kind of went into that as well, where currently, because they're gating warp gate behind 50/50 minerals and gas for every single gateway, it does de-incentivize warp gate play early on, and it does force more turtle heavy play instead, of more tech heavy play. Like it's really weird what they're trying to push with that, and I don't think it's achieving the goal that they necessarily sought out with initially. This all culminates in a video that Pig made, which I do appreciate. I think there's a lot of people out there that, especially when it comes to the PTR, when it comes to how their own races have been changed and adjusted, they can be very defensive and very hostile and very opinionated, and they would even, I would say, like argue in almost like bad faith even, and they assume that that's also happening on the other side as well. You can see it quite clearly. Like I think even on the last PondCast, like there were you can spot them out in the chat when then people start like speaking in a certain way, like when it comes to this certain race and maybe overblowing certain things as well. Like it's understandable. But what I appreciate here from what Pig brought to from Pig's video that was released yesterday is that why I bring this up is because a lot of people like to paint, especially Pig, a lot of people want to paint him as someone who is like pushing a certain agenda, pushing for a worker change, and even if it turns out to be like a negative thing, that he would push for it anyway, when that isn't the case, and that was never the case, and people just want to like assign that, and they want to like point fingers, and it's easy to like paint someone in a negative light to be able to like express your frustrations in that direction. This is why like David Kim, for example, notoriously he received so much hate over the years, like so much, because he was the face of the balance council, and right now when it comes to the worker change, Pig is the face of that 100%. He's even though he isn't the one he isn't the reason for this. Like he even said himself in a previous video how the only reason why he started showcasing all these worker changes in YouTube videos is because he was being told that this was something that was being considered, like for patches and for StarCraft. So it was like, oh, okay, like if this is something that's being considered, let's like explore that. That's the reason why he started doing this, not the other way around, where he started doing it and then that was like pushed through to like Blizzard, or pushed through as a change. But a lot of people like to paint it in that way, and that's definitely something that that's happening at the moment. But he recently released a video here going over Lodimbo's his posts, and he even had a call with Lodimbo as well, going through a little bit more in depth as to Lodimbo's experiences and Pig, and he in the end like agreed that this is an issue and this is definitely not as intended, and because of that, other changes were proposed to help with this. What the big thing, of course, being Larva, right? For Zerg, if we're going through a worker change for Larva, would have to be buffed in some way to be able to keep up with the tech of the Terran and the Protoss, and there are ways to do that when it comes to making the Queen more accessible, when it comes to just increasing the amount of larva that the Queen Inject does provide, like it used to, because if you remember, it got nerfed. Previously it was greater, then it got reduced, and they're proposing maybe increasing it once again, and maybe reducing the power of the Queen as well. A lot of people have been playing around with this idea, especially in the other like green earths and patches mods. The idea of reducing the Queen, making the Queen cheaper, making it accessible, making it less useful defensively, and giving some of that power to like other units instead when it comes to the Zerg arsenal, so they don't have to be too Queen heavy, where they can be used mainly as a macro mechanic, spreading creep, transfusing, being a spellcaster, injecting of course, but less so when it comes to like a core defense, and kind of changing that role a little bit instead. Or again, he even said it so himself, like if we find that's weak, that it's like too much work, or if the worker change cannot be balanced, to just not go through with it. To just not go through with it and just stick with 12 workers, and if it can't be achieved to work with a lower worker count, then just to scrap that idea. There's no reason to like die on that hill and try to commit when there are issues being created that kind of go against the idea of the entire patch itself. So Pig, he had a call with Orimbo. I want to say Bonan was in the call as well. Green Earth was in the call as well, and they all had like a big discussion. I will say that this video that Pig made, I think it's worth listening to for sure. But it's very broad. It's very broad. It's not very concise. It's not very focused. I think even Pig admits it himself. So I would say that in that sense, it's a little bit lacking when it comes to trying to push a certain direction or push like a certain changes. Like I think it's a little bit all over the place. But they discuss quite a bit when it comes to the patch itself. That I will say, and yeah, some interesting changes were brought up. The other big one, of course, which we brought up ourselves, which was very apparent, was the warp gate change, and they proposed the idea of just removing the cost of turning a gateway into a warp gate. Just remove that entirely, but keep the idea that regular gateways have increased, they have reduced production time, so like they produce units faster, to give players the option, right? To give them the option to, hey, we could just keep these gateways as regular gateways to have faster unit production, or we could morph them into warp gates and have that instant production with like cooldowns associated with them instead, and kind of have that option instead to be able to test out the different changes and test that out instead of like putting those resources behind it, forcing players to be more defensive and forcing players to not have warp gates early on. Other changes were proposed as well. There are definitely some interesting ideas, is what I will say. Again, as I mentioned, it's very broad. It's very, very broad, and I do recommend just checking it out yourselves when it comes to what is being discussed here. I will say that for a good portion of this, it just turns into like, Green Earth, what are you doing in your patch? Let's do that instead, sort of thing. Where obviously Green Earth has put in a lot of work, a lot of effort into his patch, into his changes, and a lot of that gets kind of brought to the table here as well. Not everything, of course, but some of them are more interesting, and some of them are a little bit more applicable, viable, and they play around with the idea of actually bringing them to the table. And again, I do recommend it. And what I mentioned earlier is what's I think most important is that because of the PTR, because of everything that's being proposed, it's running a lot of discussion, not just from Pig, but from Cats, from Lambo, from Euthermal, from Harsnam, from a lot of the other players that are devoting a lot of time to playing the game as well. There's just a lot of discussion going on right now. It's still very early in the lifespan of the PTR. I would hope that over the next week we get a change or an update to the PTR, and then we can ideally as a community try to hone in and focus on like the correct direction of the patch to go in. It's going to be difficult, of course, like everyone has their own ideas and everyone wants to push in different directions, but I would hope that we're able to come up with like a concise direction. This is something, going back to what Avex mentioned, that right now it feels like the Blizzard team, or the classic team, I should say, over at Blizzard, they don't really necessarily have like a cohesive vision for what the game should become. Instead, they have all these like different changes, which in a vacuum might be good, but all together, like, it's a bit of a jumbled mess, and that's something that's lacking. And if it's lacking from the classics team, that has to come from somewhere else instead. And that's where like as a community, we have to be a little bit more unified in kind of what we want out of the game and what we want to push for as well. And it's going to take some time, for sure. It's going to take some time. I think our big hope, of course, is that the Classics team are able to push forward and push through certain changes and hear some of the feedback and make some adjustments to the PTR currently. And then we have a little bit more to work through, to work on, and then we can kind of we can branch out from there. When it comes to and again, Pig has kind of found himself in a position where he's kind of leading that. I remember this happened last year, if you remember, in the previous patch, where I think he even said himself, like, he's like, I don't want to be like the patch guy and the guy that suggests all these changes and stuff, but like, if no one else is going to do it, like, I may as well. And, it's like, and he was kind of like forced into that kind of role in the community, and that's kind of where he's found himself in. Whether he's able to propose any meaningful changes yet to be seen, but regardless, like, I appreciate that here it shows that he's open to different ideas, open to being wrong about certain ideas as well, about like believing that maybe one thing would work and then finding out that that's not the case, and of course being able to admit that and pull back on that and kind of see other kind of avenues instead for just a better game. All these people that they're invested right into StarCraft, like, they want the best for the game as well, and yeah, we'll kind of see where this goes and where this leads us as well. Yeah, we'll see. Again, we should be able to. I say we. I always say this, but coming up with the next week, we should be able to catch up with a lot of our casting, a lot of these tournaments. I would love to delve a little bit further into the PTR myself.
Oh no.
Hopefully, we're able to.
I'm about to say next week should be a lean week, so we will have it at that.
It should be a leaner week, Pappy. True. Oh no. Look, I'm looking at the week, and I can see like a free morning
Don't
here
look
and
at
there.
it. Don't look at it. Just don't.
No.
When you cast your gaze upon the week, it suddenly becomes full.
True. That's a pretty full week, to be honest. But you know what? We're catching up. We're catching up. Notoriously, we're catching up with the Water TV Mondays, and once we're done with that, so we can move forward from there. Hopefully, ideally, but we'll see. But again, right now there's just a lot of discussion going on when it comes to PTR. For me, at least from my position, wait and see. Like, definitely. I have been able to formulate my own opinions when it comes to the tournaments we've been casting, and as I mentioned before, like there are definitely some more apparent issues with the game right now that need to be resolved, referring to the early game work account, referring to the economy, referring to Protoss and the gateway production as well, and we'll see where that all leads us, of course. And if you're out there, and if you're going to start, discussing all this like on Reddit or whatever platform you prefer to discuss it on, obviously, try to be critical with how you approach things, try to be reasonable, and yeah, try to approach it in the best manner as you can.
Yeah, I would say.
Oh, meanwhile.
I would say two things. Firstly, constructive criticism, not just like, oh, this is like, this is trash. Like, actually, why and like how can things improve. But secondly, don't get baited, because there are so many people right now who are just so either angry or just straight up baiting. So just don't get baited.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that, and I mentioned before, where they just dislike change regardless of what it is, and they'll just push against it because they dislike that idea without any kind of underlying like foundational kind of point where that comes from, and kind of like any kind of logical through point as well, where they just kind of have this knee-jerk reaction without necessarily thinking it through. So it's important to like take the time to go through it, to formulate your opinions, to understand where that comes from as well. And I'm also not invalidating the idea of people playing with 12 workers for years and being used to that, and even if it's better for the game if we have less workers, the idea of changing that and having to adjust, like it's understandable to be against that, right? It's understandable to not want that, because it's like, you tell me I gotta learn again, like what? Like
that's why I'm saying that opinions are fine, but like just spewing like anger because that's all you know how to do, like that's not helping anyone.
For sure, and there's definitely a lot of that going on. But regardless, I do hope that that strong ideas and strong opinions and kind of that direction where the game should go, hopefully is able to surface, and hopefully we're able to push it through. But we'll see. Time will tell. It's still very early. It's still been less than a week. Again, I should emphasize that. It's still been less than a week since the PTR has been live. And again, there's been so much going on about it, and that should be continuing moving forward. And again, I think the biggest thing is that we're hoping that an update is released soon. And regardless of what's in the update, what's important about that is that would show us as well that Blizzard are listening, right? They're listening, and they're willing to take feedback, and they're willing to change things, and they're willing to adjust, and that would be like a positive sign moving forward, if we do get like a patch to the PTR at some point in the near future. But we'll see.
By the way, look at Pi's comment.
Oh no, what am I looking at? While Pig mentioned not wanting to be the patch guy, Taser said he pushed for the starting worker change during his visit to Blizzard HQ and added Naomi to a cross. He got the opposite, where like everyone's like being angry and like they've got their pitchforks out at Pig, and then Taser is out here like, I did it. He's like, it was me, kill me, Pappy, kill me, and like everyone just ignores him and goes to Pig. It's like, oh no, not like this. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. Just catching with Sade in the chat. I feel like the Ducklings, especially like, can have a good unifying opinion, as you guys are seen as relatively objective / neutral. I mean, maybe, but as I like, I want to be transparent as well. Like, I have not spent as much time as everyone else when it comes to looking in depth into the PTR. I just haven't had the time. It's like I can't speak with any real authority except for like the experiences that I've had when it comes to the recent tournaments that we've casted, for example. So like yeah. I want to be transparent with that one, of course, for sure. We'll get into it hopefully soon, TM, because next week is going to be a lean week. I
should
we'll
just like
plenty of
make
time
a list.
next week.
I should make a list of like banned phrases for light VIP, and just every time he says it, it's just like a beep instead. Like I just have a button and just beep it out.
No, censor me. Bonan made a very concise analysis on the indirect boost to the adepts because it was no longer time gated behind the requirement of pylon in the same way due to the 8 workers. Right? Yes, sorry, I kind of glossed over that, but Bonan, he did do a great job. They were talking about the strength of adepts, they were talking about the strength of oracles as well, how they're able to shut down early aggression, and how that's maybe a little bit exacerbated because tech is going to be a little bit faster. I say that, but I think they even mentioned that like even they aren't fully certain on that, because I remember that Harsum was having the opposite issue where tech felt a little bit later for him because gases were a little bit later. So like there's still like some contention going on there about tech when it comes to Protoss openers and their accessibility. Like I know there was a little bit of contention there, for sure. Just catching him. Quite a lot of people say the 8 worker start leads to exactly the same games with 40-second delay. I mean, I hopefully we were able to express that there's like other ramifications due to the 8 worker start. Searches a lot with proxy hatch at pro level, yes, at least recently. That is true. If you're talking about the base game, not the PTR, but that's a new. I say new. That is a recent change to ZVT. If you watch a lot of ZVT, there's been a lot more proxy hatch play. And when we say proxy hatch, it's important to bear in mind that this is proxy hatch not to cheese, not to all in, but proxy hatch usually to just delay the CC, delay the economy. You're seeing that a lot with Protoss as well. I will say that what makes it dangerous, though, is that players like Shin, Rogue, Solar, and even a little bit of Lambo, for example, they do like to mix in actual cheese with it, so then it makes it a little bit more difficult to determine whether it's just a fake out to delay or whether it's something that's more committed. So they do sprinkle in like actually committed like aggression and all-ins with that as well. Again, this is for the live version of the game, not the PTR. Can you point out a game I haven't seen proxy hatch in a long time? I would say almost every ZVT in GSL. If you watch almost every ZVT in GSL, if you watch the RSL games as well, you'll be seeing proxy hatches. So watch games from Shin, watch plays from games from Solar, from Rogue as well. It's very common. Very, very common. Yeah. It's building spines, queens, and lings. Oh, that's something that they sprinkle in every now and then, but otherwise they just hatch block. But yeah, do check it out. But otherwise, with that, the other thing that we did want to touch on as well is getting into the response from Hyper One for with the response from Hyper One for StarCraft Evolution, which.
To be fair, I don't know if it is by Hyper One because it's just forwarded from, I believe, the Evo server. Actually, it doesn't say where it's forwarded from. But technically, Hyper One is part of the team responsible for Evo. So.
Yeah. I'm sure that it was a group effort regarding this. I will say straight from the beginning here, it was a really weird. I'll say it was a really weird post because I don't think they've spoken on a PTR before. Like, I guess what I mean by that, it feels really weird for them to take a strong stance on potential changes when they're only potential changes, not actual changes, right? Like this is a very, very long, in-depth response to something that might actually come to fruition. But it feels like they wanted to like express like certain feelings about it. So getting into it here. After further consideration, we are maintaining a 12 worker start and SC2 patch 5.0.15's balance for the time being. Again, so this is in regards to StarCraft Evolution, not the regular base game. While we enjoy strategic diversity and strive to promote this in the mod for better or sometimes for worse, we don't believe that the SC2 PTR accomplishes its stated goals of increasing overall strategic diversity across all three SC2 races. Since the PTR is already well discussed in the context of SC2, instead in the bracket, we think it's bad for it. Instead, we would like to this tells me that I think everyone wrote it. We would like to discuss what an 8-worker start would mean for StarCraft Evolution instead. So SC Evo ran a PTR cycle in 2024 where players would choose with a start of 4, 6, or 8 workers. This experiment showed that brutal races would need a significant mining advantage to be fairly matched against SC2 races, which possesses not only superior worker harassment tools, but also macro mechanics, i.e. mules, born larva, Crotoboost, which enable them to better absorb worker losses. In order for brutal races to compete in the early game, they would have needed their mining advantage buffed considerably. But this would also make them too strong in the late game relative to now, and we would need to nerf all brutal late game tech. While the correct balance of both is possible to achieve in principle, not only would this require much time and resources, but getting the strength of each individual Brood War unit would make them far less interesting to play with. Many veterans of the mode remember early mid-2024 when brutal races were much closer to their original stats, and they required a 20% income advantage to compete with SE2. Even Protoss, which is supposed to be a tech-heavy race, was forced to play unfitting swarming style with weak late-game units. Okay, cool. As the Brood War vs. SC2 mod, StarCraft Evolution Complete is always aimed to recreate both generations of the game faithfully. As a StarCraft 2 mod, the simplest way for us to recreate StarCraft 2 is ensure the mod is accessible to SC2 players was to leave these races exactly as they are in the live version. We could simply choose to ignore the economy changes as we have before, such as we moved from Blazed Void resource counts to Heart of the Swarm. Okay, for each base. However, some of the units and tech changes in patch 5.0.16 are clearly intended to compensate for the 8-worker economy, such as slower overlords and cheaper ground carry-based research. We intend to maintain the unit structure and ability stats of patch 5.0.15 while adopting most of the bug fixes. Okay. We think this is the cleanest line to draw to avoid the pitfalls of cherry-picking which parts of 5.0.16 to accept and which to reject. Our intention is not to try to supplement the supplant the SC2 developers as authorities on balance, but rather preserve the existing version of SC2 and hopefully enable more productive dialogue in the future. If this turns out not to be fruitful, we are open to choosing a different approach when the time comes. This is we'll get into their main point here. We'll consider moving to an 8-worker start if the SC2 developer commits to at least some of the following: an extension of the 5.0.16 PTR cycle and explicit details on end date, open dialogue with the SC2 community through detailed, substantial, and quantified justifications for individual changes in patch notes announcements. We expect informations better than the ones provided in the official notes. Additional changes that address the racial disparity arising from an 8-worker start. Substantial, partial, or full rollback / rework of the gateway / warp gate adjustments. More frequent bounce patches for SC2 at least every 6 months. This is wild. As in, it's. So this is something that we brought up something similar to this actually last week. I don't know if you remember Wardy's post. We didn't go fully into detail on it, but Wardy had a really weird post where he was adamantly against the patch to the point where he threatened to stop casting. And something that I noticed actually, he deleted his tweet. Like he deleted the post. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people obviously took that in a really weird way, because it's like what are you like threatening like the developers to pull out of StarCraft if they push through with this. It's similar here as well, where they're like, yo, we refuse to actually push through the patch unless you give us better reasons as to why you're making these changes, unless you give us patches more frequently, unless you do this, unless you do this. It's like what are you what it's like what is this? What is this clown fiesta of a post? It's crazy. I understand the idea that, and they said it themselves, that it's very difficult to balance something around a worker change like this to the point where they feel like it's it's gonna be it's gonna they say themselves that it's gonna take a lot more time, effort, and resources to do it, which is basically the saying it's gonna be really hard to like balance it, so we're just gonna not. But it feels really weird to make a strong stance like this when, again, we don't have a finalized version of the PTR. We don't know what changes are going to be happening here, and it feels like they're saying that if certain things aren't done, they're just going to stop like updating the SE2 version of StarCraft Evolution, which is kind of weird. Obviously, they might just walk back on all this, and I think they even said it themselves that it says here, like, if this turns out not to be fruitful, we are opening to choosing a different approach when the time comes. So, like, they even leave a line here themselves where it's like, you know what, we can just walk all of this back anyway, and we'll just adopt the SE2 version of the game, like the live version of the game. But, yeah, I don't know. This was a little bit weird with it feels like there's a lot of frustrations from the StarCraft Evolution team, and it's a really weird way to express that here, just because, again, like, the PTR is by no means finalized, and yeah, they're opening the door to the idea of them using a version of StarCraft 2 that they believe is the correct version, instead of going for whatever changes are done in the future. It's just a really weird thing to me, at least, that they would do something like this, just because, again, I was under the impression that StarCraft Evolution, regardless of what would happen with StarCraft 2, like, that's kind of like the version of the game that they would represent. But at the same time, I was gonna say I understand that it's difficult because basically every time there's a StarCraft 2 patch, they have to adjust accordingly, adjust their own values and their own Brood War version of the game to be balanced against the SE2 version. But that makes it sound like they just don't want patches, period. Like, they would prefer to just have the SE2 version stay as it is, so that they can do the best they can to just balance it and to be able to balance appropriately.
I do just want to say that we do get like EVO patches like every week. Like,
yeah,
this is like one of the most patched mods, period.
It is.
But again,
they
not to disrespect the work that's being put in it.
Sure.
That is definitely clear. There is a lot of work that is required for this to be running.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of work, and as you said, they patch this on an almost weekly basis at times, to try to balance against SE2. And it's not easy, and I understand the frustrations of every year us getting a patch and they're like, oh, well, time to rebalance everything now. but that's kind of like the challenge that you've undertaken, right? Like, these are the expectations, unless you believe that StarCraft 2 should stop patching and stop updating just to leave the game stable, so that they can eventually get around to properly balancing the Brood War side of things for SE2, which I don't think is feasible necessarily. It's an interesting post for sure. It's interesting. I don't think I'm fully for it. I understand their frustrations. I understand the difficulties of balancing StarCraft Evolution for sure. And I understand the frustrations of all these changes being made to the live version, and to try to work within that kind of environment can be very difficult. I understand that for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens with SE Evo. We'll see. Maybe we can get some Degen rushes in base SE2 soon then. True. Oh no. So based on the previous patch that Blizzard made, they made only slight changes from the original patch. You're not wrong. Like, there were only slight alterations. This is a bigger change, a bigger patch for sure, 100%. But I think that's what people want. I think. No, that is what people want. Like, I think, regardless of what the changes are, there's definitely contention when it comes to the specificities, the specifics of the changes on the PTR. I would say the majority of people do want some major changes made, whether it comes to the economy, or when it comes to some production or macro cycles, or some of the macro mechanics. Like, I think people want something big, and I feel like that should be happening regardless. I think the worst case scenario is for the PTR, for the Classics team to get like afraid about the uprise, or about all the dialogue that's happening, and to just like pull back and have a tamer version of the patch. Like, I don't think that's what anyone wants. I mean, I would hope not. I would hope that people I would hope that people don't want Blizzard to get rid of the economic changes, get rid of the gateway changes, and like only change the Ghost and like the Infestor and like the High Templar. It's like, what? It's like we waited a year for like a couple of lines of patches like that. I think people want some big changes. Obviously, they want them to be balanced, or they want them to push the game in a good direction. But I think people want something bigger, and I think clearly Blizzard wants something bigger as well, right? Like they want something a little bit more bold. And I know that we kind of glossed over it, but I know that Pig and some of the other creators out there are actually pushing for something even bolder, like something even bigger, something even greater than even what is being proposed here as well. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. The original post is very long. It's a very, very long post, for sure, for sure. But yeah, again, as I mentioned before, there's just a lot of discussion occurring at the moment in regards to the PTR, and it's still very early days of the PTR as well, so hopefully we're able to work through this over time and get better updates and get an idea as well as to what Blizzard wants out of the game as well, and hopefully we can push it in a positive direction. Hoping so, at least. Hoping so. Again, it's been less than a week.
By the way, speaking of PTR, because I just realized we forgot to put one topic on the list, which is the voting for TLMC is currently open and it closes on Saturday. So if you haven't voted yet, then go vote for the TLMC maps, because we've done a lot of testing on these maps. Some of them were updated as well, so do make sure to check out the updates on those maps. There's actually in the post, there's a changelog for each map, so you can see exactly what has been changed. And yeah, make sure to vote, because that depends what will be on ladder later.
True. We spoke about this on Friday in the last podcast, actually, how it feels like the PTR has taken away a lot of the thunder of the TLMC, unfortunately, where everyone's now talking about the PTR, and now there's very little discussion about the new map pool that's on the horizon. As Kuro said, voting ends on Saturday. Voting will end. So if you're in the chat, if you're listening to this, if you have not voted, your vote matters. Your vote does matter. There's a lot of really cool and interesting maps that are being proposed, and of course, we got to push them through. We got to push them through for our fresh map pool. It is a bit of a shame that we're kind of judging and we're selecting the maps before we really know what the game is going to look like. So we don't really know like what's better here. Like, do we want larger maps? Do we want smaller maps? Do we want more defensive maps? Do we want more chaotic maps? Like, it's going to be difficult to kind of like construct a map pool at the moment, because the future is a little bit unstable. So that is a bit of a shame. I expressed this earlier. I think it's a negative thing that this is all happening at once, but in my mind it might only be because the classic Blizzard team, they only have like a set amount of time to work on StarCraft a year, right? They're like, hey, we got like 2 months to like work on a patch and push a patch through, and we may as well like do the TLMC at the same time to update the map pool as well, and then we can move on and work on like Warcraft 3 or Heroes of the Storm or Remastered or some of the other games, right? Like, for those who don't know, currently the team, the quote unquote team that works on StarCraft 2, they work on all the classic games, and they are categorized under the classic game department, right? For Diablo 2, Warcraft 3, StarCraft Remastered, StarCraft 2, Heroes of the Storm, like they all fall under that umbrella. So like they work on all of them, and they don't dedicate their time to any singular game, which is unfortunate, but the game has shrunk to the point where, or the team has shrunk to the point where that's kind of the state of things. These games don't have like any kind of dedicated team solely focusing and fixating on that one game. That isn't a thing anymore. No. But yeah, make sure to vote. Make sure to vote for the TLMC. Otherwise, up next, we do have Home Story Cup 29. Speaking of voting, it's very similar here. For Home Story Cup 29, we do have a way to contribute and to have your voice be heard in some way, of course. So for this TLMC event, there's a survey. There's a survey where you can fill out what you want to see out of certain aspects of Home Story Cup. So specifically here, we have discussions or surveys regarding to merchandise designs, referring to, I would imagine, like Home Story Cup shirts, or maybe hats or mugs, or maybe even just stating what you would prefer to see and what you would actually want and what you would pay for, more importantly. Trophy design as well, manufacturing, hype trailer as well, like what you would want in the trailer, what you would want to focus on. Sound design and other things as well. So if you want your voice heard, TLMC voting, also survey for Home Story Cup as well. So there's a lot of ways nowadays to have your voice be heard and be a part of the community and help construct something like a tournament or like a map pool as well. So do take part in said survey. Hold on. Bam. It's in the chat. Is in the chat. Up next, we have something a little bit more lighthearted. We have Euthermal.
I just want to say that from the pause, I think the way I understand it is that like you can become, I assume, a volunteer at the actual event. So if you're interested in that there are opportunities there.
There you go. There you go. Likewise, we do have DNS. DNS, if you recall, he did infamously host Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Who Wants to Be... What's the exact title?
Who wants to earn minerals?
Yeah, we need to work on the title. We need. They couldn't have said like Who Wants to Be a Minerallaire or something, like have like a pun going on there or awful. Something like. I mean, it's better than Who Wants Minerals. I mean,
yeah, it is better. But like, okay, listen. So what you do
okay.
is you pitch the show to Sub-Saurian and make him come up with a lore accurate name.
Okay. Okay. But DNS, he did host a bit of a game show with Clem and his dad, maybe a month ago, I think more than a month ago at this point, but quite some time ago, and has been able to adopt that, of course, and now we have another episode. Now we have another episode here with Uwuthermal. Uwuthermal, he jumped in, and we once again had a bunch of questions asked. Uwuthermal, he had phone a friend, he had 50-50, and likewise had a switch ability as well, so they did kind of refine these abilities, and we have a nice little application when it comes to the game itself, coming into our game show. And yeah, it's just really cool that DNS is doing something very different, right? This is very, very different to what we're used to seeing when it comes to content related to StarCraft. I say that, if you remember back in the day, we did used to have StarCraft Jeopardy. StarCraft Jeopardy used to be a big thing. We used to have, again, more talk shows. We used to have more fun things like this, and slowly over the years they kind of fell by the wayside. So it's really cool to see DNS kind of find his own niche and find a fun trivia, aspect to StarCraft and bring on some notable figures to take part. It's really cool. So it's really, really cool. So shout out to DNS for making this happen, and best of luck to all future competitors as well. I'm sure he's going to go for all the big names like Lambo, Harston, Pig, Winter, Loco. I'm sure he'll just go for all like the big content creators initially, at least. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Get an hour to go through the entire thing as well, and to cheer for your favorite content creators to earn some minerals, or even compare with your own knowledge as well, for sure. How did you do, Kira?
How did you do? I was going to ask you, how did you do?
Well, I mean, I only got halfway through the video, I'll be honest. The one question that would have tripped me up for sure was how many unupgraded Tempest shots would kill a Broodlord? Like, for sure, like I
have no idea about the unit stats.
Yeah, but all the others, like I did remember, like obviously, like part of me is like, yo, like we could have framed this a little bit better when it comes to like the innovation series, the GSL finals. Like that's an obvious one in my mind. His series versus Sulky, where he pulled off the reverse sweep. Like that's like one of those like big highlight like historical moments in StarCraft was innovation versus Sulky, and they were like, oh no, yeah, like if you were there back in the day, like you would know this. It's like I feel like even people that come in later, like they go back and they see like the greatest hits of StarCraft, and they must have heard of innovation versus Sulky, or the Marine Lord, the All Kill as well in Nation Wars. Like that was also like another big historical moment. The Trap versus Neeb Kesper finals. Like as soon as it was like who's Neeb's opponent, it was Trap, obviously. Like that was a huge moment in StarCraft history. Like these big pinnacle moments. Personally, I was hoping for maybe something a little bit more niche, like I mean, you can go very niche actually with some of this, but yeah, it was definitely a fun trivia show for sure. And when it comes to that historical stuff, like I was on it instantly. That's when we were watching everything. How'd you do, Kerr?
I did not count scores, but well, I do remember some events, and I do have a vague idea of like things that happened. I have a very bad memory for like specific scores, specific matchups. Like unless something very like special happened, I will not be able to tell you a bracket from last week. Okay. So they're like, who played in the semifinals versus this? I have no idea.
Nah, I feel like these were
tournament?
I feel like these were easier questions just because these are like big notable like historical moments, at least in my mind, right? Like this is like on the same level of like, you know, the finals of BlizzCon, like Jaedong's like series in BlizzCon, or like MMA as well. Like there are some like these big historical moments that like I feel like most
some
people
of
remember.
them, yes, but yeah, like I remember what there was the question about like which Zerg played in some of the finals or something, and like and you like recited like entire list, like this person played here and this final was here and this final was a ZVZ, this final was a PVZ. And like I don't remember any of this. Not a single one.
Oh no.
Like that's just something that's not saved in my memory. I don't know what to tell you.
Fair enough. But yeah, do check it out for sure. I'll have to finish the video myself a little bit later. I only got halfway through. Only got up to question 10 out of 15 questions, so we'll get there. Probably watch it later on tonight. But again, do recommend it, and it's great to see DNS doing something a little bit more fun and a little bit more niche, and yeah, just a trivia show regarding StarCraft. It's great to see once again, because we used to have this a lot more back in the day. Used to be the case. Up next, we did have a StarCraft tabletop miniatures game, AMA. This was from like 2 weeks ago. We did have to push this back just because there was so much other news going on, and we missed a week of the podcast. So I do apologize for this being a little bit late. This was from just under 2 weeks ago, under 2 weeks ago. But this is the latest AMA for the miniatures game, and they were expressing some apologies as well, just because there were some delays when it comes to their shipments. I don't think they really expected so many orders, but they even showed like some camera footage of their warehouse, and they showed like how much they have to send and transport from their own warehouse as well in Poland, and the CEO, he was even saying that even he was like on the floor, like on the warehouse floor, like helping to like move pallets around, like helping with like packing. Like it's just a very intense period for them when it comes to like shipping all their product out.
Yeah, I would like to emphasize that the CEO is part of the company, as in like he's part of the work that is being done there. He's not just like an official face that just says things. Like he is part of the entire process.
Yeah, he's on the warehouse floor, like in there with everyone else, like just getting everything out, which is, you know, very respectable, of course. But they had like a bit of a graphic showcase in that, how they've got like $20 million worth of StarCraft product they have to ship to the US, and they've just been nonstop packing, nonstop for like for I believe 4 weeks, I think, like for 4 weeks, like sending everything out to the US, to other areas in Europe, sending it abroad as well, and I believe starting from this week, if not last week, I think it was this week, people that have placed their pre-orders should be receiving their pre-orders soon, over the next like 2 months, I think they said, like depending on where you are in the world, like it's all being sent out, it's all happening, and it's a bigger process, because there's so much product to move, and because they're focusing and fixating solely on that. This is going to be delaying the second wave of product that they were planning to release, which I think is like the Immortal and the Tank and the next wave of units. They did showcase them, actually. They did show off like the test products, and you could see like them built and pre-built as well, like when it comes to like them like still in their frames. So they were showing off the models of the Immortal, showing off the Tank as well, and it looks really cool, looks solid. But again, the second wave is going to be delayed just because of all the shipping delays that they've had when it comes to just getting everything out, and that's kind of like what they're working on at the moment for the rest of June. I believe they're going to be spending basically like the entirety of June just like sending like product out and stocking all these stores and everything going on. They even showed like images of the warehouse, and again like videos as well, which was really cool. They also kind of went a little bit more into detail into the rulebook. They were showcasing that as well. They were going through some of the play testing and some of the data that they've collected. They have found that Protoss right now does have a better win rate compared to Zerg and Terran, by not an insignificant amount. So this is something that they're looking at, and they're looking to try to bring Protoss a little bit back down to where Zerg and Terran are. It's something that they were kind of expressing when it comes to just the finalized rule set and the finalized version of the game that they're still working on. They showcased the custom StarCraft dice that they're working on as well. They said the Protoss dice and the Zerg dice are good to go, but the Terran dice, when it comes to manufacturing, does have some issues. Like the paint is wearing off a little bit, so it looks like they have to redo that and rectify that as well, because they don't want to send out low quality dice or low quality just product itself. So showcasing the dice and showing the issues that they had with the Terran dice, for example. What else did they get into? It was pretty in depth. Like, it was a pretty long AMA. They were showcasing the campaign. True. There's gonna be like I say single player, it might be multiplayer campaign that they're releasing, like PvE content for the miniatures game. And they did showcase some panels, some slides, and I know they have someone working on the story that's being told there as well. And we had a bit of a sneak peek regarding that, which is really cool. So if you maybe don't have anyone to play against, then there's going to be a campaign that you can play through as well with your miniatures. So there are ways to enjoy the game in that way as well. True. They also kind of gave a little bit of a sneak peek regarding the SC2 board game. This is separate from the miniatures game. This is separate from the campaign, but they are also working on, they've also been licensed to work on the SC2 board game, which is also something that they're working on that's going to be in the future. There's not too much to reveal on that yet, just because right now their entire fixation is on the miniatures game at the moment and on their current releases, but they're also in the background working on a StarCraft 2 separate board game as well, which might actually use some of those miniatures.
Yeah, I would say, actually, hearing board game makes me, I don't know if I say more excited, but makes me very hopeful, because, with miniatures games, like, if you want to play the game, like, you need all these miniatures, but like for a board game, you buy the board game, you have the game, you play the board game. It's like, that's the cost.
The most that you can get there is that expansions to board games do exist. They do exist, so because of that, like they might release like expansions in the future. I say might, this is not based on anything, it's just based on the fact that I'm familiar with board games and there are expansions that exist out there for them.
But what I mean is, like,
happen in the future.
You can buy one box of a board game and like it's just there, and like you can like bring it to like a party or something and just meet up with friends and just play, even if they like have no previous experience.
For sure. I can't wait to spend 2 hours going through the rules of board games. I used to on a regular basis play board games with a group of friends, and straight up it'd be like an hour or two beforehand going through setting up and going through the rules and figuring out how to play the board game before eventually getting to the game itself. But that setup always took a long time. It was It was great. So looking forward to that, getting to that one day eventually. Likewise, again, they did of course emphasize that pre-orders are now being shipped. Again, it's going to take some time for all that to be released, of course. And then they had some general questions that were being asked, and I feel like they've already answered in the past, talking about like hybrids, talking about specific units as well, talking about how tournaments are going to work. We mentioned this before, but they're working on their app, their big app, and they're working to organize tournaments worldwide with certain venues or game stores to be able to post and publish like their events on a calendar, so you can look for that. It'll be a little bit more accessible to look for events happening in your area, to go to them, to compete in them as well in the StarCraft Miniatures game. There's going to be quite a lot going on. They also once again spoke about their relationship with Blizzard, and they spoke about how it's actually been very smooth working with Blizzard and kind of working on the miniatures game itself. They even said it was like a little bit too smooth, where they got a little bit concerned that maybe like something wrong was going to happen at some point, but like no, it's all been working quite well for them.
It's
which
like, why do they
really
just
cool
approve everything?
Yeah. Where they haven't necessarily been pushing back on too many of their proposed changes or haven't been difficult to work with, which is great to hear. For sure. Seems like the table reflects Protoss ladder win rates as well. True. Aye.
I just want to say the miniature games, again, they may be more difficult to organize depending how it's solved, but I hope that those tabletop games, like both the board game and maybe even the miniatures game, make it to places like Home Story Cup, make it to like all these like other events that are being organized. And whether it's just for the fans to like, try out and play, or if you actually imagine getting the pro players to actually play like a small game of one of these at an event like Home Story Cup.
I can see that happening with the board game. I don't know if they would do that for the miniatures game. Like, I would love for them to have like a side stream for the miniatures game.
Listen.
But the reason why I don't see that happening is because everyone there is going to be drunk, and I can see people like breaking miniatures.
Listen.
I can see like, you know, a lot of chaos ensuing.
Host Story Cup 30, okay? Host Story Cup 30, there better be a tournament in the miniatures game, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I would love that. I just don't know how feasible it's going to be with a bunch of drunk people. Like,
I mean,
like,
true.
Like that sounds expensive with what they could potentially break. Like playing miniatures games. Like,
look, that's why you make it a separate area. Okay, this is there's like a check on the entrance. Like, just how sober are you?
There's like an alcohol breather that you have to pass to be able to like pass through the rope to be able to get into the area. True. Oh god. But yeah, for sure, it's something that I would hope that they do at some point. You know, infamously, Home Story Cup, they've had like after hour like poker streams, for example, which is more accessible for sure. But hey, after hour like, you know, SSU board game streams like sounds like a lot of fun. It's like a lot of fun. But yeah, do recommend checking it out, especially if you're interested in the miniatures game. A lot of movements is occurring in regards to the miniatures game, and again, will soon be available everywhere. I know that I've got my order soon to be coming, and I can't wait to fail to paint it all.
You will do it on stream, of course, right?
God no.
Why not?
No,
we have to know. We have to witness your skills in action.
I would show them off, but I don't know if I'll have the painting stream on stream. We'll see. Oh, but yeah, do look forward to it. In regards to the miniatures game. Up next, we do have Zero Space. Zero Space Early Access has been announced. I'm sure if you have Zero Space downloaded on Steam, you'll notice a massive, it was like a 2 gig patch like yesterday or the day before that, but a massive patch was released. And again, Early Access is coming soon, TM. I say soon, do we have a date for it, I believe? July 20th, there you go.
July 20, and on June 15 to 22, there will be also a demo playable.
There we go. So, I know that a lot of people are very hesitant about RTSs right now, especially after Stormgate, but I think everyone can say with confidence that Zero Space is being handled in a very different way. It does seem like they're nowhere near as reliant on crowdfunding or as reliant on the community to kind of push changes through. They have their own vision, they have their own kind of internal structure that they're kind of sticking to. It does feel like a little bit more concise and consolidated, and we're getting an actual product. Like, that's the feeling that we're getting here.
I feel like very important thing is that like it wasn't like, okay, we want to make a game now, you know, help us like make it, like crowdfund us and stuff. They already had a game working, like not polished obviously, but like they had a working game, and that's when they launched the Kickstarter. Like, hey, we've been working on this like for a year or two. This is what we're trying to do. Like, do you want to join us in the effort, kind of thing? Yeah, for sure. Like a very different approach to making a game.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm getting at is that expectations should be a little bit different here for Zero Space, just because it's feeling like a much more polished game, like Tempest Rising coming out, and that's like its own, you know, polish and kind of isolated kind of game that was released, and or standalone, sorry, I should say, standalone game that was released. Same here as well. When it comes to the multiplayer aspect, I'll be honest again, like I never got time to play it. Same with Stormgate. Like I never really got to play Stormgate. I never really got to play Zero Space, even though like I was invited to like the beta or the alpha or the demo and all that stuff. Because we cast so much, like I just never had any time to delve into it. It's the same discussion that we spoke about when it comes to the PTR, where I just don't really have much time to play the PTR. I didn't have time to play Stormgate or Zero Space either.
I have played Zero Space like twice, and I played the quote-unquote Zerg. It's not exactly Zerg, okay? I just calling it Zerg because it's reminiscent. But I just played and I made things that looked like Reavers with wings, and I thought that was very cool. 10 out of 10. No, but you know, so like it like the game just felt nice in controls, which is something. No, I'm not want to like compare it to other games, but like something that I'm looking for in RTSs after StarCraft, because StarCraft is like so fluid to control. Like it's nice to have another game that just feels good in gameplay. So. Yeah. And yes, Katz is part of the team at Zero Space. He's part of the... I think he's like one of the 1v1 designers, like straight up.
Yeah. There's some ties to SC2 in the sense that Cats, and I know Scarlet was
Scarlet is
helping a little bit.
involved. I
Yeah,
know
I think Scarlet
also.
was more of like I think she was more of like a consultant. I want to say.
I know some people are
But
consultants. I don't know how many of them are actually like part of the team, but yes, I know that Cats and Scarlet are definitely involved. For those following the more campaign side of things, Giant God Games is also involved. He did take like a long break because of some of his personal issues, but recently he like mentioned something like oh yeah, I was talking to like the Zero Space guys and something. So clearly like he at least is in contact with the people, so he has some influence there.
yeah, and hopefully it goes well, right? Hopefully it goes well. All these people that we are familiar with working on it, I mean, that I don't know if that really holds much weight because we said the same thing about Stormgate, right? Stormgate had a bunch of ex-SC2 developers and had Monk and had like Dave Nine's like mother was a part of the team as well. Like
Well,
there was like all these,
so.
yeah, she was marketing and like there was like a lot of people that were working on the game itself and that didn't necessarily pan out well enough. But again, there's more hope here for Zero Space. It does feel like a more complete product, but of course time will tell. And again, early access is launching July 20th.
Yeah, I feel like something interesting again for people who follow more like the PvE side of things in StarCraft. I'm pretty sure a few of like StarCraft modders are also involved in this game, which again makes it interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So again, it is going to be releasing soon, at least when it comes to the early access side. Main game releasing, I'm sure, at some point later on this year. Look forward to it. Do look forward to it in regards to the RTS space. That leaves only Immortal Gates of Pyre, if you recall.
Yes.
Like
Also,
I don't think I've heard much from them in recent times, though.
No, recently no. But also, I want to mention that together with this announcement, there was also an interview with the CEO of the Zero Space. Heck, what is the company called? I don't actually remember. But the people behind Zero Space, there was a short interview with the CEO, so I also recommend because it's not very long, but it's a nice conversation about how he views the game design and stuff. Because he is like one of the main programmers there, I believe. At least on the very beginning, he was just straight up working on the game himself.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just trying to look to see if there was anything related to Immortal Gates of Pyre recently, but I don't think we have anything specific yet.
I think like lately they've been more quiet.
Yeah. So hopefully it's there's some progress there, and I mean I know they put a lot of work, a lot of years into Immortal Gates of Pyre, but I also know they have a smaller team, they have less funding, so it has taken a lot longer for that to really get going. So best of luck to Immortal as well. Up next, we do have news regarding DreamHack. BYOC's Bring Your Own Computers ending. DreamHack has been recently announced earlier. A couple of days ago, actually. DreamHack is ending its BYOC LAN components after reporting that less than 10% of attendees globally brought their own PCs in 2025. It does make sense. Again, the BYOC is very niche. Like, it makes sense that they would make this decision, but it is a shame because this is how DreamHack began. Like, DreamHack began as a big LAN event, as a bring your own computer where everyone would come together, bring their own PCs, and be able to compete together as well. Like, that was a big major part and factor, especially in a world where we're seeing less LAN parties and more just purely online play. So it's a bit of a shame to see that aspect of DreamHack leave us. I know that in the last DreamHack, that was the only StarCraft that was there. There was a StarCraft BYOC in the last DreamHack, and we actually had some people go and attend and take part.
Yeah,
it wasn't big by any means, but
but StarCraft BIOCs were like at pretty much most DreamHacks, I think.
Yeah.
Like every time almost, I want to say, if not every time.
Yeah, and that was the only StarCraft we were having at DreamHacks as well. So it's a big shame that we're no longer having it here. I mean, it doesn't help as well that the BYOCs were never streamed. Like, they were never streamed or casted. Like, it was... I know that last time, I think Sal did, like, a stream, but it was, like, a phone... Like, it was, like, a jank, like, phone stream where he was just streaming from over the shoulder sort of thing. Like, it was not very well set up is what I will say, but like, so that there was never really much eyes on the BYOCs, unfortunately. But yeah, it is a big shame. Unfortunately, it is a big shame. But understandable if they're like trying to cut costs.
I would say that the BYOC, like with all its like flaws and advantages, it felt the most like it was the most iconic part of DreamHack, and like even even just passing by the area, because the rest of the area, it just like looks like every other convention. Like, you know, you have stalls here, you have like the sponsors, like it just looks like every other convention. But then you pass to the BIOC area and you see people with all their various setups, some weirder than others. You like at one of the DreamHacks I went to, they were just like has these huge like projectors just on the walls, just like displaying. What was it? They just displayed the Gandalf nodding for the entire like evening, and that was just the thing. Like there was just like the place for like, you know, the memes and everything. So it had a very different vibe than the rest of the event. So losing that part of DreamHack basically like kind of makes it lose that identity in a way.
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, like this is how DreamHack began, right? It was like a big bring your own computer events, bring your own PC events, and for that to leave DreamHack, it's very unfortunate. Again, like it doesn't impact a lot of people because not many people were making use of it, and I do feel like there could have been a better job when it comes to showcasing and televising like the BYOC lands. I do think that's maybe a failing of DreamHack for sure. It's a shame that they never tried to promote it as heavily or push it forward or again televise it in any big way. That is a missed opportunity, unfortunately, and looks like that part of DreamHack is coming to an end. So it is a shame.
Just want to remind everybody that at one of the DreamHacks, Dolan did win a medal.
True.
He got an actual medal. Just want to point it out.
Yeah. Oh, my Dolan, let's go. Did win it. So it is a bit of a shame here as we get into the rest of our news, into the rest of our tournaments. When it comes to other news that we're going to be going over next week, which we just didn't really have much time to fit in here, just because there's just so much to discuss. We'll be going over some of the Ladder Legends content. I know they've been having a lot of like talks, discussions, like podcasts surrounding the PTR, and likewise know that Kalaris was also a part of the Origins podcast as well, which we will be going over next week. We'll get there. It's just the PTR took up the main bulk of the start of the show, so don't apologize for that. We'll get there next week. Up next, we do have the RSL Rival StarCraft League Season 5. If you recall, we were supposed to co-stream the finals, the semis, the finals, the final 2 days this weekend. Unfortunately, we were unable to. I did mention this previously, but this did take place Saturday and Sunday, and on Friday evening after the PondCast, there was a bunny emergency. We did have to rush Chi-Chi to the hospital, and did have to look over her as well, and it was very stressful. There's a lot going on there, but that is why we did not co-stream the last 2 days of RSL. It is a shame. It's a big event. It's one of the major events going on right now. And it's a little bit weird that we co-streamed all the playoffs up until the final weekend. But you know, life happened, and so we have our own priorities as well. So I had to be there for Chi-Chi. I had to be there for my pets. So we did miss out on covering these events, so I was unable to watch the games themselves. So I can't really speak too much as to what occurred here, but let's get into the results regardless. Let's get into the results. So we had our ZVZs. So Lambert took down Shin 3-1. A big win there for Lambert when it comes to ZVZ. I remember we were discussing like potential predictions for the final days, and I had a really hard time judging who would win between all these ZVZs. I could see Lambert, Shin, Solo, or Rogue advancing on. In the end, Lambert took down Shin 3-1, Rogue took down Solo 3-0, and then Rogue took down Lambert 3-0 as well. So Rogue coming on top in all the ZVZs. That led us into the upper bracket finals. Hero, he 4-0'd Clem in the upper bracket final. Strong showing there by Hero. Once again, we weren't able to cast this, so I don't really know as to what exactly happened in these games. I might get around to watching the VODs, but we have limited time available. Regardless, congratulations to Hero for the massive win here over Clem. Does advance on to the grand finals. Meanwhile, we had Clem himself take down Rogue 4-2. Well, there was a bit of a back and forth, which I appreciate. On paper, I would have said that Clem would have had a stronger showing versus Rogue, but Rogue was able to fight back and put some points on the board. So I do appreciate a bit of a back and forth there, as Clem did advance on to the grand finals, where Clem, he 4-0's Hero. So Hero 4-0'd Clem, then Clem 4-0's Hero, and then that led us into the final best of three. Hero, he took down Clem 2-1 in that final best of three, going all the way to the ace match. It went down to the wire here. Very clutch, very intense. Congratulations to Hero for claiming the win and for becoming this season's RSL champion. GG. GG played. Again, Hero is the best Pro player in the world, so Hero versus Clem finals is kind of what we expected coming into this event, and it did not disappoint. Again, still have to check out the games myself, but again, if you did tune into it yourself, do appreciate maybe some recommendations about the games or about the matches, regardless of very intense back and forth here between the two players, and congratulations to Hero. GG. GG well played. Season 6 on the horizon. I don't think it's been fully announced when it comes to qualifiers or dates yet, but I'm sure that they probably want to wait for the PTR to go live. Like until with the PTR being announced, I'm sure a lot of tournaments right now are wanting to hold off until post PTR, and then we can make use of the new live version of the game. Until then, RSL is going to be going on a small break, on a small hiatus before Season 6. GG. GG, well played. With that leads us into GSL, the Global StarCraft League. This we should be able to cover this weekend. The semifinals and grand finals are going to be over the weekend, but we did have Group A and B take place last week. In Group A, we had Hero, Cure, Classic, and Clem. We just saw Clem come second place in RSL, but here did struggle that much more in the GSL. Again, a bit of a different environment, of course. Clem, he initially went down to Cure, as Clem did play Protoss against Cure's Terran, went all the way to the ace match. Likewise, Classic also took Clem down as well. I remember we were discussing this, how this group was a group of death. Like, I could see any one of these players making it through and not making it through. It was very hard to call. I could have seen double Protoss, Hero, and Classic. I could have seen double Terran, Clem, and Cure. Could have seen Hero, Clem, Hero, Cure, Classic, Clem. Like, it was a very, very hard series or hard group to call. We had plenty of ace matches involved in this as well. Plenty of ace matches, plenty of game 3s. Hero, he 2-0'd his way to victory. He 2-0'd Classic, 2-0'd Cure. Meanwhile, Clem was the first player knocked out of the group, and then Cure took down Classic 2-1, went all the way to the finals, of course, the ace match, and Cure did advance on alongside Hero. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into Group B. Group B, we had Maru, Rogue, Zaun, and Shin. In my mind, this was also a bit of a top-up. I felt like Maru was a sure thing, but I was a little bit on the fence about Shin or Rogue advancing on instead, and Shin had a bit of a harder time here. If you remember, we were discussing this when we came into Shin versus Maru, how I was curious if Shin had adjusted from his previous series, because I feel like playing the same 2-base Roach Heavy style into Mutaplay or into Ultras is a little bit played out after showcasing it previously against Maru in the previous tournament in GSL Season 1, so I didn't like the idea of relying on that. Shin did rely on it, and it was still very close. I'll be honest, I'm still thinking about Game 2. This could have been a 2-0. This could have been the 2-0 in favor of Shin. Shin, he was ahead in Tourmaline, like he was in a good position, and then it slipped away, and then we had Winter Madness, which was more Maru-sided, and Maru took the win. Took the win over Shin. Zaun took down Rogue 2-1. Maru took down Zaun 2-1 as well. Went all the way to the ace match. We had that back and forth. Shin was the first way to be eliminated in that ZVZ. Rogue popping off in the ZVZ, both in RSL and in GSL, showcasing a ZVZ skill. And then we had Rogue take down Zaun in the final series. So Rogue and Maru will advance on instead. So we do have a similar semis to last season. GSL Season 1 was Hero, Cure, Maru, Shin. This time it's Hero, Cure, Maru, Rogue. So we have just a different Zerg player here. Just a different Zerg in the semifinals. Likewise, players have been shifted around as well. Previously was Hero versus Cure and Maru versus Shin. This time it's Hero versus Rogue and Maru versus Cure instead. Now, coming into this event, I'm going to be looking forward to that TVT. In my mind, Hero, he is the best Protoss player in the world, and he is heavily favored versus Rogue. I'm hoping that Rogue can pose a threat and make a series out of it and maybe cause an upset, but Hero, he's the RSL champion for a reason. Like, he is favored coming into this. Maru versus Cure, if you remember, Cure, he did defeat Maru last season in GSL, and he also did defeat Maru in EWC last year. EWC. Like, Cure right now has the stronger TVT, but I'm sure that coming into this, Maru's been working on it, right? Maru, he has Ryung. He's got Ryung behind him to help him out as well, so I'm sure Maru, he is cooking up a storm for TVT versus Cure. We'll see if Maru can cause that upset. We'll see if Cure can claim another win again. Oh boy. So my predictions here, it's going to be Hero versus Cure in the finals, and then Hero would be our champion, but we'll see if Maru again has been working on his TVT against Cure, and then we could see Maru versus Hero instead, which I still do favor Hero in these finals, even if it's against Maru as well, but we'll see. I'm hoping that that we can have a competitive series, a competitive back and forth, and we'll crown our champion this weekend. Crown our champion. As that leads us into our next big event, that leads us into the Wardy TV Spring Championship 2026. Oh boy. This is another major event that did not conclude yet. We just wrapped up the group stage. Group A and Group B are going to be occurring tonight, actually, tonight and tomorrow, respectively. But we do have the initial group stage concluding. I want to say that we already went through some of these groups previously, but no, sorry, we went through the seeding groups initially. Okay. So coming to group stage 1, we had Rogue, Geralt, Showtime, and Nickeract. Ooh, interesting here. I think we already went over this, but regardless, I was definitely favoring Showtime in this series and in this matchup. To see Rogue and Geralt advance on instead is huge. Geralt getting a big win over Showtime. A huge performance there by Geralt to advance on alongside Rogue. Cure, Trigger, Mana, and Cristiano. Here we had Trigger and Cure advancing on instead. No, yeah, we already went through this. Yeah, I remember. We already went through Group A and Group B last time. Group C, that is newer though. Here we had Skillus, Lambo, Strange, and Ryung. I was leaning towards Lambo and Ryung here, but no, Ryung, he does not make it through. He does come out in last place. He got 2-0'd by Skillus, 2-0'd by Strange, and 2-0'd by Lambo. Oof. Yeah, some rough performances there by Ryung. Meanwhile, Skillus in first place and Lambo in second, as Skillus did defeat Lambo 2-1. GG well played. That leads us into Group Stage 2. Here in Group Stage 2, we have some massive groups here. 6-player groups, round robin. Oh, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of games, a lot of matches. We have Cure, Zound, Shameless, Percival, Shin, and Lambo. Coming into this group, I would say that Cure alongside Shin and Zound are favored. Those are the 3 that come to mind here, but the group has been slowly progressing. And we had some crazy results. Shameless took down Zound 2-1. Big win there for Shameless. Shameless took a map off of Shin, and Shameless took down Lambo as well. So Shameless, he got some big wins here already. Cure, so far, untouched, but he hasn't really played that many games. He took down Percival and took down Shameless as well. Shin took down Shameless. He did fall to Zound, but those are the only games played so far. So we're still only halfway through the group. We'll see how it does unfold. Again, leaning towards Cure, Zound, and Shin, but I would be happy to see Shameless causing an upset, Lambo breaking out instead, or even Percival. Would be happy to see. Best of luck to all the players. Group B, we have Skillus, Trigger, Geralt, Björn, Solar, and Rogue. Ooh, okay. Interesting group here. Pretty stacked as well. I want to lean a little bit towards our Zerg players here to at least have some Zerg representation moving forward, but I know the Trigger's been looking really good. Björn, of course, has been on that grind. I still am not really certain where to place Skillus and Geralt just because they've both been less active in recent months, so I'm still on the fence when it comes to how to judge Skillus and Geralt at the moment. Obviously, Skillus came out in first place in his group, that is true, but it was also one of the weaker groups as well, so I don't really know. I can't say with confidence like where to place Skillus at the moment. For now, I'm going to lean towards Björn, Rogue, and Solar. But again, I can see Trigger making it through as well. I know that Trigger can sometimes have some nerve issues. Like sometimes nerves does get to him. So if Trigger, if he's locked in, if he's on point, I can see Trigger making it through instead. But it'll be hard to judge. Hard to judge. Best of luck. Best of luck to everyone, as the group stage will be concluding this week, coming into the playoffs. Up next, we have Masters of the Game. Masters of the Game number 2 qualifiers did conclude. This was last week, a couple days ago even. We had our qualifiers here, and we had a lot of matches concluding. Cure took down Lelix 2-0 to qualify. We had Geralt taking down Young Yakov. Big win there for Geralt. Takes him down 2-1. Shameless took down Jimmy 2-1. Aragfire took down Mana. Yo, the young boy still got it. That's the Aragfire. Takes down Mana. Percival takes down Baby Marine. Nickerack takes down Hearthstone. Skillus over Perceive, and SOS over Art as well. So we did have our qualifiers. I should also mention as well, I'm sure you might have noticed, but last Masters of the Game, we did cast every aspect of it. We casted the qualifier, the preliminary stage, the group stage, the playoffs, the finals. Everything was casted here on the channel. We haven't casted any of it yet, and we most likely won't. Like right now, this is a very this is a really late start time for us. And in years past, we would cast everything, 100%. We would not care. It could be at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. We would cast whatever we could. But in 2026, we're casting a little bit less. So I say casting, we're still casting a lot, but we're trying to maintain a sleep schedule.
Basically, we're trying to maintain non-degen lifestyle. Okay, that's what changed.
True,
we're trying to be normal people and not teachers. Try.
Not exactly, not exactly. So right now my sleep schedule is kind of around. I have some pet bunnies now. I have some pet bunnies, and they got to be let out. Got to spend time with them. Got to feed them as well. Give them breakfast. Give them food. And for me to like mess up my sleep schedule and mess that up means that it negatively impacts them. So like I have now different responsibilities. So because of that, like I'm not going to be staying up and casting European events like I used to. It does mean that we're missing some opportunities. So for example, Homestory Cup 28, we usually, for the past couple of years, we have been the B stream for Homestory Cup. We were not the B stream for this latest 28 Homestory Cup. We're not covering Masters of the Game. We have not been casting like OC King of the Hill or the Platinum Heroes like tour events. And there's some other events as well that we would usually cover in the past. Hatchery Cup, that's another one. There are some more European focused events that start at more European friendly times that we have been turning down just because of how late they begin. And it would mean that I'd be casting late, I'd be sleeping in late as well, and everything would be a little bit messed up, and I can't quite do that as much anymore. We're still casting twice a day if we can, but some of these other events we have been turning down, and instead we have been relying on replay casts for those events instead. So I'm sure you noticed, but we have been having a little more replay coverage than in years past due to the start time of these tournaments. Like Kung Fu Cup, for example, we no longer cast live. We could, but again, it just destroy us. Or What is TV Mondays as well. Like those What is TV Mondays and Kung Fu Cups, those are two events that, for example, we have started to cover via replays exclusively instead of live coverage instead. Oh. But yeah, so still casting plenty of StarCraft, but a little bit more replay reliant instead, and that means that, again, if we do end up casting Masters of the Game, it will most likely be via replays after the fact instead, just as a heads up. Meanwhile, we have the preliminary stage ongoing. I did actually wrap up not too long ago here on the 31st of May, so a couple of days ago. Skillers, he took down Ryung 3-0. Percival took down Solar 3-1. Again, not the first time we've seen Percival defeat Solar. We alluded to this during Pegasus Cup earlier this morning. Percival actually defeated Solar during the GSL qualifiers, and it happens here as well. So a big win for Percival. He's been getting better performances against Zerg. Maruhi 3-0's SOS, Lambo 3-0's Arrow Fire. We have Shin versus Nickrat going all the way to the ace match. Oh my god, very intense back and forth there. Rogue 3-0's Geralt, Björn takes down Shameless 3-1, and Trigger, ooh, big win. Trigger and Cure have been going back and forth recently. I don't know if you noticed, but Trigger takes on Cure 3-1 as well. Huge win there for Trigger. GG, Cure is out of the tournament. That's a massive upset. Big upset, big result. Cure is out, and so is Solar. Two big upsets there, as they're both out of Masters of the Game early on. Group A was last night. Bear that in mind. That was last night. Here we had Classic, Maru, Rainer, and Trigger. Ooh, and already Trigger and Rainer. What are these? That was a stacked group. What the hell? Oh my god, that was a very stacked group. This reminds me of Group A from GSL. How we spoke about, we could have seen anyone making it through here. Classic and Maru were more favored, that is true, but this is still an insane group to work through. Trigger, he went down to Rainer, and he went down to Maru. Classic took down Maru 2-1. Classic took down Rainer 3-2 to advance on in first place, and then Maru took down, eliminated Rainer from the tournament as well. So we have Classic and Maru advancing on. Rainer and Trigger are out of Masters of the Game. Later on tonight, in 4 hours' time, we have Group B. We have Hero, Bunny, Rogue, and Björn. Interesting. I would say that this is going to be a closer group for second place. Like, again, like Hero's been on fire this year, the entire year. Like, Hero's been winning everything. So we lean towards Hero here in Group B. We then have Bunny, Rogue, and Björn fighting for, I would argue, second place. Bunny has been playing less StarCraft as late. I'm a big Bunny fan. I want Bunny to do well, but I have to admit that he has been playing less StarCraft, so he's less practiced than the other players. Rogue and Björn, they can both be terrifying in their own rights. Best of luck. And hey, there's a world where they can threaten Hero, for sure. Hero, by no means is a sure thing. I should also emphasize that Hero, what makes him fun, but also what makes him struggle at times, is that he can be a very inconsistent player, and that means he has some high highs, but he does have some low lows, for sure. So there's a world where Hero doesn't even make it out of the group. Like, this true. Like, on paper he's favored, but I would not be surprised if he does not advance out as well. Like, that's the thing with Hero is, again, very chaotic in results.
As a official Hero fan, I confirm that is the fun part about Hero, that you never know what you're gonna get. It's just a madman. What the guy say?
Yeah. Just a different man after he lost to SOS. What can I say? What can I? No. Meanwhile, we have Group C. Group C is up next. It's going to be tomorrow. Several Showtime, Shin, and Percival. Again, Percival has been doing really well lately. I still would say that TVZ is his weakest matchup. I know that he just took down Solar, but give him a Protoss, give him a Terran, and I would give better odds to Percival. So this is a bit of a brutal group just because it is very TVZ-centric with both Serral and Shin. I do think that Percival would have a better time against Showtime here. Who do we favor? I'm going to lean towards Serral, of course, to come out in first place. In second place, Shin has been looking very shaky recently. Like, the issue with Shin is that earlier in this tournament, he went 3-2 against Nickrat. Nickrat is a good player, don't get me wrong, but I think our expectations of Shin is higher than that. So for Shin to struggle against Nickrat does give me pause when I see Shin versus Percival, with Percival taking down Solar earlier 3-1, right, in this very tournament. So I think I lean more towards Percival over Shin at the moment. Even though Shin got second place in GSL Season 1, post that, Shin has been struggling a little bit more. So I think I might even just lean towards Serral and Percival, actually. Like, I think I might pit them, the two of them, to make it out of the group. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, you know, I'm hoping that Shin comes out swinging here and comes out strong. Same with Showtime as well. Best of luck. Group D is going to be Clem, Zaun, Skillus, and Lambo. Okay, once again, coming into this, Clem is the heavy favorite. He's the best Terran player in the world. So coming in as a big favorite in this group. Then have Lambo, Zaun, and Skillus. I want to lean towards Zaun, but I also know that Lambo can work really well in these preparation-based formats. Lamb is the kind of player to fixate and to focus on Zaun and Skillus and to fixate on his ZVP to work on that matchup. Same with the ZVT as well. So this is the kind of format where, given time, Lambo can cook up some certain styles and builds and try to study his opponents and look for some tens and tendencies and look for trends, I should say, and try to abuse that. So Lambo has potential to make it through for sure, but on paper I lean towards Clem and Zaun. But we'll see. We shall see. Best of luck to all the players as the group stage will conclude this week. And again, next week will be the playoffs. Will be those playoffs. Up next, we do have the Enki Epic Series. Enki Epic Series number 9. This is for StarCraft Evolution. This is a fun 2v2 show match that we did that Enki Alexander, one of the fellow CranKy Ducklings, did actually perform. He did actually host this a couple of days ago. Again, last week, I should say. And it was a fun 2v2. It was Björn and Rogue versus Classic and Shin. Originally, this was meant to be a bit of a race war. It was meant to be Rogue and Shin, double Zerg, versus Classic and Hero, double Protoss. But when this event did take place, Hero was unavailable, and he was replaced by Björn. So Björn stepped in, and Björn replaced Hero. And then the players came to a consensus. Both Rogue and Shin were like, yo, double Zerg is awful in 2v2. Like, switch us up. Like, it's not going to go well. So in the end, Enki agreed and was like, okay, we'll switch you guys up. And instead it was Björn and Rogue versus Classic and Shin, and we had our best of 7. Best of 7 did unfold here, and Björn and Rogue were able to claim the series 4-1. I don't think Rogue ever played Brood War Zerg. I think it was only Björn playing Brood War Terran, and he's the best Brood War Terran player out there in StarCraft Evolution, I should say. So Björn, he was a very strong asset in that regard. And Classic and Shin, they're very well versed in StarCraft Evolution as well, but again, they did struggle that much more when it came to timing attacks, when it came to mid-game aggression as well. There was a little bit less cohesion there, and Björn and Rogue, they look dominant. They look dominant here. GG, well played. Okay, we did cover this event on our channel not too long ago. So congratulations to Björn and Rogue. That leads us into the StarCraft Evolution League Season 3 Ladder Invitational. I believe we were working through the group stage here, and the group stage did finally conclude. We were already 3 groups in, and now we have Group D, E, and F concluding. Here we had Shin, Death Mars, Milky Cow, and Rake. I think I remember predicting Shin and Milky Cow making it through, but instead Death Mars does advance on over Milky Cow. We had Death Mars taking down Milky Cow 2-1 in the decider match. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into Group E. Group E was Classic and 3-Point advancing on. These were 2 of the more favored players. I had a really hard time judging Hwarang. I wasn't really too sure where to place him. He went down to Classic 2-0, and he did force 3-Point to the ace match, but 3-Point did make it through alongside Classic, so GG, well played. And then we had Group F, Björn, Young Yakov, Starat, and Blask. Coming into this, Björn and Young Yakov were more favored. I was really excited, though, to see Blask playing again. It has been years. I think we looked, and the last time he seriously competed was like in 2019. It's been a long time. So great to see him return. He returned to play 2v2s with Goblin, and now suddenly he's here as well. Does struggle in the group stage, but hopefully we see more of Blask in the future. Hopefully. As we have our confirmed top players getting ready for Group Stage 2. Group Stage 2 is going to be getting underway in a couple of weeks' time. I believe the plan here is to wait until the Thermal Tutor Circuit concludes and Master the Game, and just waiting for all these other premier events to wrap up before focusing and fixating on the Ladder Invitational. I believe that is the plan. So best of luck to all the players. When it comes to our coverage, we're most likely going to be stepping in and starting to cover either Group Stage 2 or the playoffs. At least the playoffs we should be covering ourselves, either live or via replays. That is something to look forward to. We should be able to cover that, but we were, just because there's so much else going on, like we did avoid the Group Stage 1. Did avoid it. But we'll eventually get around to covering some of these events and some of these matches. Up next, we did end up having our amateur events. Let's go. We do have the Amateur League Weekly number 161. It's a weekly tournament that is split up via divisions for all the leagues out there in StarCraft. We have the Initiate League Weekly, which is for bronze to platinum players. Here, we only had 2 signups. Again, I'm sure there were a lot of people fixating on the PTR this week and focusing elsewhere, so it looks like some less signups. But regardless, Jackals does take down Oxygen 3-0. Up next, we have the Veteran Edition. This is for Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. Greater signups here. We had Sugarcoat II. Likewise, we had Old Lady. We had Zelnaga, Revio, Mr. Fister, Lauren, Pretty Fly. A lot of regulars here. In the end, we had the Zelnaga, though. Okay, Zelnaga takes on Old Lady 2-0, takes on Sugarcoat II 2-1, takes on Review 2-0, and takes on Revo 3-0 in the grand finals. GG, well played. Strong showing here by Zelnaga. Did drop a map earlier to Sugarcoat, but only to Sugarcoat II in the 3rd round. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. Zelnaga has claimed the win. That leads us into the Prestige Edition. The Prestige Amateur League Weekly for Diamond 1 to Masters 2 players. Here we had Mathlix, we had Steez, Boreal, Ilya as well, Zigger, Matrix, Defiance. A lot of regulars once again competing here, but hold on. Exiled? Is that the Canadian Protoss player? Exiled is a player that I recognize, by the way. He was like a semi-pro a couple of years ago. Exiled, if you remember, he used to play in the Spicy Team League, and in Sugar's NA Apprentice. He's a competing NA Apprentice. So I mean, it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since we had NA Apprentice.
Quick poll, chat. How many of you know what NA Apprentice is?
True. So back in the day, Sugar, who was a big part of Psystorm Gaming, used to host an NA-focused GSL. Basically, think of GSL, but for the NA region, for Canada and the US of A, not including Latin America. Eventually, he did open up to Latin America towards the end, but this is like 2020, 2021, 2022 era of StarCraft, like early COVID. And eventually, Sugar he stepped away. He still streams every now and then. I think he streams like Path of Exile, or like I think I've seen him live recently.
It was
playing
the
some
other game.
games.
The other game. What's the other game? There was this like MMO thing that like came up like in the past few years. What is it called?
Genshin?
No, not that. The other one. The one that's like more medieval fantasy kind of thing. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about like Lost Ark or Ark Raiders? Maybe? No, not Lost Ark. There's another game. I just don't even, not World of Warcraft. It's more realistic. It's not that kind
more
of
recent,
fantasy.
more recent.
Yeah, more recent.
What, Valheim? Maybe?
It's close to Valheim, but it's not Valheim. It's the other game. I don't remember what it was called.
I understand what you're saying. But yeah, he was streaming recently.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him like
he does like
even this year. I want to say. Yeah. He just plays other games, and he used to be a bigger part of the StarCraft scene. Again, he used to be a part of Psystorm Gaming. He was a bigger part of the community, of course, and he started hosting his own events for the NA region. But over time, he did step away, of course. And again, I remember Exiled competing in those tournaments back in the day. He's a pretty damn good player. But I believe he's also, I think it's been years since he played as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he's returning and he's like slowly like playing StarCraft again. But I would assume personally that he will very quickly kind of like graduate from this kind of MMR bracket. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying that he's smurfing, but I am saying that that he probably recently came back to the game and his skill level is closer to GM. So we expect him to kind of like quickly move up in MMR and move past this and break back into at least Masters 1 kind of level of StarCraft. So, I mean, to be fair, he did get knocked down early. He got knocked down by Steves in the first round, which is impressive, by the way, which is impressive. But again, Exiled is definitely someone that I recognize, and we expect him to level back up. But GG well played.
By the way, I'm looking it up, chat. I will find out what game it was. I will do it.
Okay. Oh no. Smurfing confirmed. No. I played the custom Circle 29. As you mentioned, like unfortunately, I think it just starts at a really rough time for us. So most likely, just like 28, we'll just be covering it via replays, most likely for Home Straight Cup. But otherwise, up next we do have our Elite Edition here. We have, wait, is that Raza? Or is that, no. Who is that? We have Raza and Aziz.
Last time as well.
Yeah, up against Meowridoom. Meowridoom does take down Raza 3-0 to be this week's Elite Edition champion.
Except look at the score.
Oh, never mind. This is a walkover win. Okay. Meowridoom gets a walkover win and does claim the Elite Edition weekly here. So congratulations to Meowridoom. That leads us into the 4.4K Patch Clash number 1. Oh, right, because usually it's 5.4K. Okay, so it looks like Patches for the first time does create an event for a bit of a lower MMR bracket here, as this was taking place a couple days ago, and we've been here before, but we have an empty Wikipedia page because no one bothered to update it. Smurge, baby, Smurge. Let's add an asterisk to this to hopefully update this in the near future. But shout out to Patches. Patches has been hosting a lot of events on his balance mod. We were briefly bringing Patches up earlier.
This is not how you do it. Not add us.
True.
Chat. This is your call to action.
If you're out there, then ping Kuro to update the Wikipedia page. Oh no. If you're out there, if you want to contribute. If you want to contribute to StarCraft and if you want to take part in the community, then you can do so via doing stuff like this. There are a lot of tournaments like this that are a little bit more NA based and NA focused that don't get updated as quickly as other pages. For those that are curious, like Wikipedia is updated by contributors. If you're out there, if you happen to be watching a tournament or following a bracket and you see it being updated or you see it progressing, you can update this yourself. A lot of the contributors on Wikipedia are based in Europe, which means that when NA events are happening, a lot of the European contributors are asleep. They're usually asleep for NA events. They're usually asleep for Korean events, for Oceanic events as well. So very, very often, a lot of these events do not get updated. It is a shame, but it's just because we do have less contributors from other areas of the world, whether it's the Americas, whether it's Southeast Asia, Oceania, Korea. So if you happen to be from those time zones, or if you don't, but if you happen to be watching an event and notice that something like this isn't being updated, then you yourself can actually try to update it yourself. You know, you can add players, you can update the brackets, you can help add to the wiki, if you will, to update events like this.
I mean, to be fair, you don't even have to be watching the event. You can just be like, you know, wake up in the morning or come home in the evening, whatever, and be like, go to Wikipedia and like see what tournaments happened today and see if the brackets have been updated, because they all show up on the main page, so you can just find them there.
Yeah, for sure. As when it comes to the event itself, going over the challenge, we had Boreal, we had Tonsi, we had Frogos, so we had Zigger as well. Some regulars here that we're familiar with. Boreal, he does take down Tonsi 2-0, takes down Frogos 2-0, does fall to Zigger actually in the upper bracket finals, and then Zigger takes down Boreal 2-0 to be this event's champion. So GG well played. Congratulations to Zigger. He is a Zerg player. He's a regular when it comes to amateur events, and he is going to be our champion here. This is played on the TLFC map pool and also played on the Patches balance mod. GG, well played. That leads us into the Magic Up Masters Cup number 119. This event here is the return of something special. Magic Up Masters Cup. They are the kind of like the sister tournament, the sister series to the Master Swan Open. They also did start up. They're a little bit different. I believe they used to be more regular. They used to be like a weekly event, by the way. But their MMR range is larger than MSO. MSO is up to 4.7k. Magic Up Masters Cup is up to 4.9k MMR. So a little bit different in terms of the MMR bracket and MMR range. But it's been a long time since we've had a Magic Up Masters Cup. The last one was in 2025. The last one was what, back in March of 2025. So it's been over a year. It's been over a year since the last event was held, but we did announce last week that the return was coming, that this was coming back, and I believe it was funded for a couple of editions and potentially even further than that as well. So a big shout out to Captain Canuck for casting and for hosting the event. A shout out to the sponsors as well. We can see the organizers here. We have Papa Panda, we have Xenodactyl, Grumpy Gills, Captain Canuck, Little Mac as well, the Maple Dominion. So great to see them all coming together to host these events on a regular basis, as this is coming in as a bi-weekly, every 2 weeks.
And I just want to ask, every time that name is mentioned, when do we see the return of Papa Panda competing? We need Papa Panda. You guys, if you only started watching StarCraft recently, you don't understand. We lost all of our crazy Zergs. Gogo Joy is gone. Mio Maika is gone. Ender, he shows up sometimes, but like for the most part, he's gone. All the crazy Zergs are gone, and Papa Panda was part of that crazy Zerg group, except in like, you know, the semi-pro amateur level. And all of them have stopped competing, and I just miss them. I miss the craziness in the tournaments. Where are they?
Exactly. We need Papa Panda to come out of retirement. We need the Papa. We need the Panda. True. When it comes to the event itself, we had Matrix. Matrix takes down Danielo 2-0, takes down Beast 2-0 as well. Big wins there for Matrix. Meanwhile, we had Naji. Naji takes down Yoru, takes down Kaiboy, and then Naji takes down Matrix 3-1. Naji is a player that I'm very unfamiliar with, a little bit unfamiliar with, I should say, but that's because he is above 4.7k MMR, so he does not compete in our tournaments, but he is below the 4.9k threshold, so he can compete in the Magic Up Masters Cup. It does take down Matrix 3-1. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Naji for claiming the win. And again, great to see the return of the Magic Up Masters Cup in a regular basis every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I do give a shout out and follow to Captain Canuck as he will be hosting the event over on his own Twitch channel. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the Ubu Thermal, the Thermal 2v2 Cups, Cup number 2 and number 3. Number 2 did take place, bearing in mind that these events do have some prize money associated, but no points. Remember, the main Euthermal 2v2 circuit is already locked in when it comes to the players competing, but we are waiting, of course, but it's still on the horizon, the beginning of the event, I should say, and we have these events, these warm-up cups to supplement, to give these players an opportunity to compete, to play, to stay in form in preparation for the main circuit. Oh boy. So coming into this event, we had a couple of interesting duos. We had Bjorn and Solar, we had Lambo and Spirits, we had Geralt and GG Machine, which is often GG Machine and Shameless, actually. Shameless, he played with Young Yakov this time. Oh my god. So a bit of a different pairing. We had Laser and Showtime. Typically, a Laser's playing with Skillus, so it looks like Skillus was unavailable, and Showtime did step in to be the replacement man instead. And we had Gabe and Kilcut, which is usually Gabe and Classic, but I believe Classic was otherwise unavailable, so different duo here with Gabe. With that, Gabe's duo did struggle a little bit more here. They did take a map off of a Laser and Showtime, and look at the Laser time. Oh my god. They took down Hero Marine, they took down Young Yakov and Shameless 2-1, and they took down Def Mars and Zardian 3-2 in the grand finals. GG, well played. Strong showing here from Laser and Showtime, both individually solid in 2v2, and again, usually it's a Laser and Skills playing together, but great to see Showtime stepping into the ring and filling in and winning the event alongside a Laser. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. They do win the Warm-Up Cup number 2. We then had Warm-Up Cup number 3 thereafter. These were all done quite consecutively, like very little time in between them. But here we did have once again a bit of a larger sign-up list. Actually, here we had Jimmy and Showtime. Hey, there we go. As I mentioned, Showtime, he's usually passed around because, do you see what I see? Skillus was available. Alasia and Skillus, they play together because they're usually the duo. They're like the Team Liquid duo, if you will. So because Alasia, he was able to join back up with Skillus, Showtime was left in the ether, and he was able to latch on to Jimmy. Jimmy. Jimmy, who did he play with before? I think I've seen him play with Yakov.
I just want to say that I think Laser and Skillus, they executed the reverse psychology because they signed up as a loser and skillless, and they went to the finals. Yeah. Just saying.
There you go.
Just saying.
True. They know what's up. We had Max and Spirit, who are the best 2v2 team in the world, and there's no surprise that they win because I think they almost always win whenever they play together. We had Goblin and Uber Thermal. We had once again had Gabe and Kokut. We had Björn and Shin, Gene Machine and Shameless, so that duo has returned together. Lambo and Cyril, they don't often play together, so that's a new duo as well. Lambo, he's usually with Harston. So it looks like Carson was unavailable and Cyril stepped in. Looks like Zhugelang was also maybe unavailable as well. So interesting pairings here, interesting duos when it comes to the main event itself. We had Cyril and Lambo take down Goblin and Euthermal 2-1. They did end up falling to Alasia and Skillus in the semifinals, so big win there for Alasia and Skillus. Meanwhile, Spirit and Max, they 2-0 Art and UD Soldier, they 2-0 G Machine and Shameless, they 2-0 Björn and Shin, and they 3-1 Alasia and Skillus. Again, Spirit and Max, they are the best 2v2 team in the world, and whenever they sign up for something together, like they often go crazy. Like it's very rare to see them lose in these 2v2 events. I want to say it's happened like maybe once or twice, but it's a rare sight. GG, well played. And that leads us into the StarCraft 2 Community Team League 2026 Spring Regular Season. This is a Chinese team league that is a round-robin group stage. Again, so many games, so many matches, so many weeks of StarCraft. We just wrapped up with round 9. Here we had Elpis 3. Elpis 3, they took down Leor 5-1. Strong showing there by Elpis 3. We then had Elpis, their main roster, their main team, take down Little Fairy. This was one of the more high-profile matchups here in round 9. Here we had Lemon taking down YRYF 2-0. We then had Oriana. Why do they do that? I still don't know. Sometimes they just randomly want to use like their like Romanized name, or sometimes they're just Chinese letter names instead. I don't know why. But Oriana takes down UD Soldier 2-0. Big win there for Oriana. Very nicely done, as UD Soldier is the ace player of Team Little Fairy. And then Ear takes down Nanami Chiaki 2-0. Big win there for Ear, actually. Big win. But congratulations to Elpis for claiming the win. Up next was Solid Twinkle. They 4-2 Fairy Thug. That is the Team Little Fairy, kind of like B roster, B team. We had PCEC taking down Rookie Warpgate 6-0. Strong showing there by PCEC, as that was actually a forfeit. Ooh, yeah, that was a walkover win. Then had a Team Old Man. The Old Man, they do it again. They take down Team Hist 5-1. What should have been a 6-0. To see Cyan Lancer to drop a map versus number, that is an upset. That's a crazy result to start things off here. So nice upset from his. They still do end up losing, but did take a map off of Cyan. Then at Toll Project, they took down a team at Proto Celeste 6-0. We had Team Super Kitty taking down a Star Tease 4-2. Strong showing there from Super Kitty. And then we had a Team Super Puppy, the Super Kitty B team, take down Kauda 4-3. GG. GG, well played. That leads us here into a couple of days at round 10. Round 10 is going to be, let's see, who do we have here? Kauda versus Elpis 3. Super Kitty. Oh, no, the kitty and the puppy. They're facing off.
Oh, no.
They are.
Not that.
Not like this. Tower Project versus Star Tease, Old Man versus Proto Celeste, Rookie Warpgate versus Hist, SLT versus PCEC, which I will be looking forward to. Once again, we also have the Fairy Thug is up against the Little Fairy. Oh no. All the team kills.
LP's playing versus LP's 3.
True. Wait, that's next week actually. That's round 11. Round 11 they're facing off as well. So all the main teams are playing against the academy teams. So bit of a feels bad, man. Then we have Elpis versus Leor as well. When it comes to this series, I would say maybe the high profile one is going to be, I mean, it's going to be fun seeing like the main team versus the B team. That'll probably be the story of round 10. But best of luck. We still have 15 rounds in total. We still have plenty more weeks to go until we wrap up the round robin group stage. A lot of teams, a lot of matches, a lot of Chinese StarCraft. So do look forward to it. Do look forward to it here as that leads us into our regional events and show matches. Oh boy. First, we have the DSB Monthly Cup number 1. Okay, this is organized by Roxmena, who I'm not very familiar with. But we have seen some DSB events in the past. This is an amateur event. True. This is the amateur event. Oh, right. We actually went over this previously when it came to the group stage, when it came to the Swiss format. Again, these are players that I'm very unfamiliar with. There's a lot of prize money behind this, but again, this is an amateur event for up-and-coming players designed to promote, I would imagine, MMR restricted tournaments here. I don't know what the MMR limit is, whether it's Diamond or Masters. But I would imagine that's what this is. And when it comes to the main event itself, we did have. I think this is something that we know. Hold on. Who is this? Who won? Fen Yao Yu-chan. Birds and cicadas. Lovely.
And what?
But birds and cicadas. You know cicadas?
Okay.
Yeah,
sure,
it does take down iOS. iOS 2-1 takes down his Zurich opponent in the semifinals 2-1, and takes down his Protoss opponent in the grand finals 2-0 as well. Purely best of threes. Who was his Protoss opponent? Sinyin Starian. Okay. But GG, well played. Congratulations to Birds and Cicadas for claiming the win and for being our champion. Once again, this is for amateur up-and-coming players in China. There's a lot of tournaments for Chinese players out there, for those who are unaware. Monthlies, weeklies, team leagues, amateur team leagues as well. Just a lot of content, a lot of StarCraft for Chinese StarCraft. And congratulations to Birds and Cicadas for claiming the win. GG, well played. That leads us into Legacy Weekly Japan, number 503, the Open Edition. Here, I was going to say, where is my Boba? But Boba is not here. There is no Tapioca. Looks like they took the week off. As instead, for the first time in a long time, look at Sayak go. Sayak, he takes down Antaro Example 2-1, takes down Crimson 2-0, takes down Jacko 2-1 in the grand finals as well. Sayak, it's been a while. He used to be, for a long time, the best player in Japan. That has not been the case for a couple of years now, so it's great to see Sayak reclaiming his throne now that Boba is nowhere to be found. True. So GG, well played. Congratulations to Sayak for claiming the win over Jacko. Up next, we had the Basilisk Big Bang Bouts, number 118, somewhat PTR edition. Curious. It looks like only a couple of matches were played on the PTR, not all matches, which is a little bit weird. But here we go.
I will say
first we had Shino.
People had a lot of fun discussing on Wikipedia Discord what to name this event. Because, part of it is PTR, but it's not PTR. And somebody is like, what if we just put somewhat PTR? That's what it ended up being.
Beautiful. As we had Shino versus Scarlet on the PTR, by the way, and Scarlet takes down Shino 3-1. Shino was able to take a map, but Scarlet did claim the series in the fun edition. Then we had the good one. We had Bly versus DNS. Ooh, that would have been spicy, to be honest. I know that Bly has been recently playing again. DNS has been making a lot of content as of late as well. This is on a TLMC map pool, a mixed map pool, I should emphasize. But this was on the base game, not on the PTR. That's why I was on the TLMC maps, because the TLMC maps are not on the PTR. True. So Bly takes on DNS 3-1 to claim the series and the good series. And then we had the Basilisk series, Serral versus Beyond on the PTR. Serral with a 3-0 over Beyond. GG, well played. Strong showing there by Serral at the end, as congratulations to Serral, to Scarlet, and to Bly for claiming the win here in the 118th edition of the Basilisk Big Bang Bouts. That leads us into the Shopify Rebellion Sundays, and it looks like they heard our feedback. If you remember, we were talking about how it was kind of weird that each show match had its own page, but it looks like they have consolidated everything here, right? Crazy?
Let's just say it's complicated. That's my explanation, because I believe the format has changed of the event, and that's why they put it on the same page, because now the format doesn't make sense, and it's complicated. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad they capitulated and they just put it all on one page. We appreciate it. But here so I guess you're saying previously we had divisions where you'd be promoted and demoted, but I guess that isn't the case anymore. As based on this page, there are no divisions. It looks like just flat show matches.
I think so, but at the same time, I don't know if this is just this week or if this is moving forward. But there was a format change, yes. That I can confirm.
Okay. Yeah, because as you can see, it's a special PTR edition where it's $100 winner takes all for every series, whereas previously we had divisions where each division had different prize money, right? They had different prize money in a different format. So for this event, it was just purely PTR show matches. We had Percival versus Lambo in a best of 5. Lambo does take down Percival 3-2, went all the way to the ace match, by the way. GG, well played, went all the way to game 5. Lambo does claim the win. Then had Beyond versus Creator, also in a best of 5 on the PTR. Beyond takes down Creator 3-1 to claim the series. We had Gumiho versus Yang Yakov. Interesting pairing, and it worked out very nicely, very well. Gumiho takes down Yang Yakov 3-2. And then we had Beyond versus Clem. Beyond 3-0 over Clem. Big win there for Beyond. GG, well played. Damn. Yeah, huge win at the end there. But congratulations to our players. And again, this was all purely on the PTR. Whether this format stays for the foreseeable future, at least until the PTR ends, yet to be confirmed. But regardless, GG, well played nonetheless. Congratulations to our winning players. Up next, we had our OC events this week. We had the OC Elite Rising Star number 19. We were working through the lower brackets. So up first, we had Gigi Machine. He takes down Art 2-1. Shameless takes down UD Soldier 2-0. We have Shameless versus Gigi Machine in the upper bracket finals. These were the two favorite players from the beginning, and they could not be stopped. They could not be stopped. They do face off in the upper bracket finals. Meanwhile, we had low bracket updates as well. Art, he eliminated Jumi. Jumi is out of the tournament. Ledlix is out of the tournament. And Moja is out of the tournament as well. Fiant advances on. Honmono advances on. Art advances on as well. So starting next week, we should be working through the rest of that lower bracket. There's only, 2, maybe 3 weeks at most left here for Rising Star 19. We're getting through it. GG all played. Meanwhile, that leads us into the OSC 2026 mid-season playoffs number 1, which we've also been working through. Percival takes down Sham 2-1. Showtime takes down Lambo 2-0. Big win for Showtime. Beyond takes down Nightmare. We still have many more matches to embrace and to get through. It's just a massive bracket. It's a massive double elimination bracket. A lot of games, a lot of matches, a lot of StarCat is going on there. I went over some of the more recent results, but Max Maxi 2-0 Eva, Yang Yakov over Nicaract. We had Solar over Fiance, Bunny over Rebellion. Who else did we have here? We had Cristiano over Sebestus, Shameless over Jimmy, Cure versus Baby Marine over Baby Marine, Harston does advance on over Goblin, Skillus over Arrowfire, and Art over Geralt. So again, a lot of matches, a lot to go through. It's going to take a couple of months, not going to lie, to make it through this bracket. We'll get there. We will get there. And I believe this has been mainly casted by Wardy. I believe Wardy's been mainly covering this event over the past week of play. And so best of luck. Best of luck. Again, this event, we might start getting into some of those casts as well after we wrap up OSC, the Rising Star events. We're focusing right now on Rising Star, and then we'll be mixing in some mid-season playoffs.
What do you mean? Like, well, the moment the Rising Star 19 ends, Rising Star 20 will already be beginning.
Ah, true. True.
And don't forget the 19.5 in the middle.
Ah, yeah. And 19.25 as well. Don't forget about that one. True. We're not going to stop. No. Up next, we have the OC King of the Hill number 250. That's a lot of weeklies. That's a lot of King of the Hills. Again, this is a fun King of the Hill style format where the winner stays on and the loser is eliminated. Here we did begin with a fresh pairing here of Defiance and Minizerg. Minizerg takes down Defiance 1-0 to advance on to the next round. And Minizerg takes down Hatsu 1-0 as well. So on a 2-game win streak, then Ledlix. Ledlix comes out swinging. Ledlix takes down Minizerg. Nightmare takes down Ledlix. Shameless takes down Nightmare. And Shameless goes on a short win streak. But these are big wins, by the way. Shameless, he takes down Nightmare and Creator, 2 Korean Protoss players. Shameless. He's shameless. Crazy. Milky Cow does put an end to that win streak, though, as he does go on a 2-win streak himself. Takes down Shameless, takes down Percival. That's a huge win, by the way, for Milky Cow. Very nicely done. And then we have our King of the Hill, Cristiano. Cristiano takes down Milky Cow, Honmono, Gigi Machine, Geralt, Jimmy, Skillus, and Fiant. A massive win streak here for Cristiano. I would say the biggest threats here would have been, there's a lot of threats here, right? Honmono, he's a beast in TVP. We have Gigi Machine as well, who's been looking very strong as of late. We have Geralt, who's a PvP, who's the rival of Cristiano, if you will. Skillus, who I would say is typically more favored, but Cristiano, he went on a tear, and he was able to claim 5 wins in a row. Sorry, 7 wins in a row. So 7-game win streak. GG well played. Congratulations to Cristiano for being this week's King of the Hill and being invited to be the starting player next week as well. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the Open Cup. So here we have our Open Cups here. We have Kung Fu Cup, week number 9. A lot of these are played in the live version of the game, but we did have a couple of we had a couple of PTR versions as well. Bear that in mind. First, we had Kung Fu Cup. Here, there's a weekly open tournament here organized by SC Boy. That's why we have a lot of Chinese representation in the tournaments. When it comes to the event itself, we had Clem, and Clem takes down Shin 2-0. Shin he eliminated Byun and lead up to this as well. We had Cure. Cure takes down Rogue 2-0, takes down Showtime, takes down Hero 2-1. Big win there by Cure, but it was Solar. Solar, he was the one to bring down Cure, Classic, Lambo. Very, very, very strong showing there by Solar to take down Cure, Classic, and Lambo. Does face off against Clem in the finals, and Clem, he'll be our champion this week, winning 3-1 over Solar. GG, well played. Clem is going to be this week's Kung Fu Cup champion. Congratulations. Well played. GG, well played. I feel like typically we expect it to be Clem and Hero, but again, Hero and Classic did struggle in this week's bracket. True. They did struggle this week. Up next, we had Pegasus Cup number 83. Here we do have our TLMC edition. All right, this is last week's tournament. True. This is last week's tournament. So this was the TLMC edition instead, still in the live version of the game. We have Byun 2-0 special. Likewise, Creator takes down Percival 3-2 as well. Byun takes down Creator 3-2 in the grand finals. Went all the way to the ace match. We had a really intense couple of TVPs with Creator, Percival, and Byun. Very, very intense. But Byun does barely claim the win over Creator. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Byun for claiming the win in last week's Pegasus Cup. That led us into the Water TV Mondays. This is also in the base live version of the game. Hero, he takes down Shameless 2-0, takes down Ryung 2-0, takes down Clem 2-0. Yo, big wins here for Hero. And he doesn't drop a single map. He 2-0s Ryung, 2-0 Shameless, 2-0s Clem, and 3-0s Max Packs. Insane run out of Hero. Again, he may have struggled in Kung Fu Cup, but in Water TV Monday, he does excel. He does claim the 3-0. GG. GG, well played here for Hero. Does claim the win. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies. Monday Night Weekly number 54. This was also on the base game, the TLMC edition version. Here we had Classic. Classic instead going in his own tear. Takes down Byun 2-0. Takes down Clem 2-1. Takes down Hero 2-1 as well. Classic, calm down. This time, last weekly for the Water TV Monday, it was Hero. Here, Classic, he pops off. He does stumble his way to the finals. Did drop a map to Clem. Did drop a map to Hero. But he does face off against Max Pax in the grand finals. Max Pax, he was the player that eliminated Byun, Clem, and Hero from the tournament. So some big eliminations at the hands of Max Pax, but Classic does claim the win through 2-1 over Max Pax. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Classic for claiming his win of the week. That leads us into the Sparkling Tunic Cup. This is the PTR edition. Bear that in mind. For the PTR, we did have a bit of a leaner sign-up for sure, but we did have some heavy hitters. Byun, Nikrat, Cristiano, and Yang Yakov. We were discussing some of the ramifications of this tournament at the very beginning of the broadcast, talking about the PTR. We already went through it. But we were discussing how early game aggression was more difficult for Zurich players. We were talking about how Protoss players were more incentivized to be more defensive. Cristiano, he tried to be aggressive in this tournament, and he was punished every time he tried to move out. Just because he had no reactive defensive warpins, right? He had no defensive warpins. He was being punished time and time again. Cristiano had some rocky games against Yang Yakov, whereas typically he would not. And in the end, we had Byun taking down Yang Yakov 3-0 in the grand finals. Yakov, he was trying a lot of two-base muta play, and he was being punished time and time again. It was very experimental play there by Yang Yakov, and Byun shut him down. So GG, well played. Congratulations. Byun does claim the win. That leads us into the Pegasus Cup number 84.
I just want to say, I specifically remember one quote of you casting Byun versus Yang Yakov. It's like, oh, are we gonna kill the Spire? No, we're gonna kill the things. Are we gonna kill the Spire? No, we're gonna kill the Mutas. Well, I guess we're gonna just kill everything.
Yeah. Yeah, he literally killed everything. Yeah, he dropped into the main base. He had the option for the Spire who's focusing it down. Then Lynx came in. Byun just killed the Lynx. Mutas came in. Byun just killed the Mutas. And then Byun just won the game. He just didn't even kill the Spire, by the way. Aye. But again, time and time again, Young Yaka feels punished for his attempted meta play, and Bjorn did shut him down. That leads us into this morning's broadcast of another PTR tournament. We should probably update that on the title here, but it was Bigger Cup 84 PTR edition. Here we had Bjorn. Bjorn takes down Nickrak 3-0. Solar takes down Percival 3-0 as well. And then we had a best of 5 finals between Bjorn and Solar, went all the way to the ace match, an intense back and forth, and Bjorn takes down Solar 3-2. I will say that we were able to sink our teeth a little bit more into this series. We got to see Bjorn embrace the new Ghost. He went for a Ghost Rush in one game, and he went into late game Ghost production in game number 5 in the ace match. And we got to see the new Ghosts come into play. The fact that they cannot be interrupted. Uninterruptible snipes were crazy. Sniping Queens, sniping Broodlord, sniping everything. And Solar did struggle once Beyond got up to that point in that final game. It was very back and forth, a very fun series. I do recommend the VODs for sure. And again, we already expressed our concerns regarding some of the PTR changes at the beginning of the broadcast as well. And again, that was mainly based off of the Tunic Cup tournament and on this Pegasus Cup event as well, when it comes to formulating some of those opinions, alongside, of course, some of the supplemental material with Lorimbo's kind of, with his write-up, with some of the other videos created as well, which we did already discuss. But regardless, do recommend it. Do recommend it, as that leads us into the sign-up list. If you want to take part in some of these open tournaments, then you can do so via the sign-up list. I can make my sign-up list in the chat. As you can see here, we currently have the Kung Fu Cup number 10 currently ongoing. We have the Thermal 2v2 Warm-Up Cup PTR edition. That's going to be crazy. PTR 2v2. Oh my god. Aye. We got the Chat Star League. We got Patches Patch Clash 7.5 because that makes sense. Got the What Is It Monday and plenty of other tournaments on the horizon. Bearing in mind that Monday Night Weekly, the next edition, is going to be on the PTR as well. So more PTR events are coming up. I was under the assumption that Kung Fu Cup would also embrace the PTR, but I think they're going to be waiting a little bit longer. And they're going to wait for the PTR to cook a little bit more before delving into it as well. Regardless, GG, well played. With that, again, you can check out the sign-up list. If you want to support us as well monetarily, you can do so via Patreon, !Patreon in the chat. Our Patreon does fund our tournaments on a regular monthly basis. It does fund the Tunic Cups, the Duckling Opens, and the Swan Opens as well. All 3 of our tournaments are all funded via Patreon, and you can help us reach our next goal and help us fund our tournaments and help us grow our tournaments even further as well. That's all done via Patreon. You can help us out there if you wish. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. We appreciate it. If you want to tune into more of us, you can do so via YouTube, !, socials in the chat. You get a link to our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. We upload on YouTube to YouTube on a daily basis. And when it comes to our next broadcast, we should be live tomorrow morning with Amantes de StarCraft. Asterisks on that one. We'll get into that later. We have Woody TV Monday starting up tomorrow as well. We have Woody TV Mondays throughout the course of the next couple of days to catch up on them. The reason for this is that we did fall behind with Woody TV Monday coverage, and we want to catch up before the PTR goes live, right? Before that goes live, we want to wrap up with the backlog of tournaments we have, and we are slowly catching up. So Amanthus, Kofa Giants Cup, Woody TV Mondays, we will get there. Kung Fu Cup as well. We will get there as we have Woody TV Mondays and Kung Fu Cups over the next couple of days. Likewise, we have the big event over the weekend, which is GSL. We have the GSL semis and finals on Sunday. We're going to be casting that live over on Soup. Remember, we do not cast that live on Twitch and YouTube. We cast it live on Soup, and then we rebroadcast on YouTube a couple of days later. Let's bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks so much for the support. We do appreciate it. We're going to be wrapping up here for the time being, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for some Amanthus and for some Wardy TV StarCraft as well.
Before we
Take care.
Before we leave, remember TLMC voting. TLMC voting ends on Saturday, so if you have not voted yet, then do vote. And just for the chat, I did look it up, and the game is Lost Ark. You're welcome.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. So what did I say? Lost Raiders? It was close. So we got Lost Ark.
Ark Raiders, a few other arcs.
Yeah. But with that, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks so much for the support, and we'll see you guys next time for some more StarCraft action. We'll see you then. We'll see you tomorrow for some more casting. Until then, ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego. Take care. Vote for TLMC.